It looks like a ribbon,
A ribbon.
a
Okay.
ribbon icon on the left.
I don't have a ribbon icon.
Okay, under, let me see where else you would see it.
Teresa, maybe if you can share your screen, maybe because
Um,
yours might appear a little differently than
let me
Lisa's.
see. I'm sharing it now. You see that, Lisa?
Yeah, let me make it bigger to see.
I just don't see anything on the left.
Lisa, for what it's worth, I've never found it when you're viewing it as in the manner that Teresa is either. I don't know if she has to download it in order and open it up like in a PDF viewer, like Adobe.
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it.
I have
And I
to down,
wonder if that explains why Randy was able to find them, but some other board members were not.
okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen then. Let me see if I can do that real quick before we stop. Okay, start.
It's fine.
Yeah, I do think you have to download it and use a viewer. I think that's how it
Is that what
just,
it is, Randy? Okay, so let me go back to Randy's, I guess, I mean, I'm sorry, Lisa's initial email. Is that where I would do that? Because this is what pops up when I do it.
yeah, when you're in that view, there's in the upper right-hand corner, there's a download option.
Oh, I see. Yep, I'm doing it right now. I got you. I wasn't paying attention. Now I'm following. Thank you. I love the young people that are smarter than me.
On some things.
You're never too old to learn.
I've got a 7-year-old nephew that can do it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't thinking, I know what that down, I was just thinking that I had to do it differently. So of course it's easier than you think.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so now I've got that, aha. And then now I see on the left side, there's a ribbon. Okay. Thumbnails, document outline. Oh, perfect. I see that. So you can just go from item one. Ah, so much easier. Yes, I got it. Thank you. Makes my job as chair much easier.
My
Okay,
secret is out.
I know.
My efficiency in page finding.
I'll be right back. I need to, I still print off the,
Yes, Jody.
the beginning docket because it's easier for me. So let me go get that off my printer. I'll be right back and we can get moving here. Okay, we're just waiting for Mr. Ebbets. He just advised me that he'll be here in about 5 minutes. So we'll wait to have him so we have a quorum. And Lisa, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Kelleher is absent today, correct?
That's right. He is.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Is Tony joining us today? Oh, I see Tony. Never mind. Hi, Tony. My screen gets bigger and bigger with people on it.
Excuse me, I'm finishing lunch, so.
Okay, that's fine. No, and Mr. Ebbets isn't with us yet. So I just wanted to make sure, since I knew Mike's not going to be here today, so that may affect some forms, and we'll address that when we get to those cases. But Tony and Randy, that might affect you on the voting. So please stay apprised of that and help me keep track of when you jump in and when you jump out of these cases. So the first case I'm not on, so somebody other than the case will have a 4-member quorum, and so they can continue, but I'll need somebody else to moderate that or chair that because Mr. Kelleher is absent. So I don't know if Ebbets will do that. I think he's done it in the past, so maybe he'll do it when he gets here. We'll ask him. I'm gonna look to see what else we have along that line. That's the only one like that. So the rest of them I'm on that we have continuance on. I'll handle those, but I'll need someone. We'll figure out when Mark gets here if it'll.
Teresa?
Yep. Yes, Tom.
Whoops. Did you get a note from Mark that he'll be here at 1:10?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I said 5 minutes, but I think I was looking at my clock here. So yes, I did. Do we have a court reporter? Is someone online, the court reporter?
Yeah, it looks like someone that's raised their hand is
Okay.
on as a court reporter. I'm going to promote her. Her name's Michelle Surt.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know Michelle.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle. We're waiting, Michelle, we're waiting for a final board member to join us. And then we'll get started.
Okay, I heard all of it, so.
Good. I was looking at I was like, where's our court reporter? So,
I'm here.
nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
We'll try to keep this manageable for you. This is always, I know you're
This is my first one, so I hope so.
yeah, you're talented. You can handle this one.
Oh, thank you. You're too sweet.
Michelle and I have lots of matters that we deal with, don't we, Michelle?
We do. And I was in your office all day yesterday.
Were you okay? Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think I saw you walk by once, but I'm not sure.
You probably did. No, Mr. Evans yet. Mr. Evans, can you hear us? Oh, no, not quite. Now I can. Okay. Mark, since you just joined us, Mr. Kelleher is absent today. And so the very first case, I am not on the quorum. And so Mike would typically chair this. Do you feel comfortable, or do you want me to see if Tony would do it? You're on mute.
Teresa, I kind of got off guard. Why don't you let Banuki go ahead and do this?
Tony, are you okay with doing that? Can you chair the first matter? Then I think it's a dismissal. Is that correct, Joe, or whoever's got this case?
It is.
Okay, so it'll be rather simple. Okay.
That's
All right.
easy, yeah.
Okay. All right. Tony, do you mind doing that?
No, that's
Okay.
fine.
Let me get everybody started. I'll get everybody sworn in on the staff, and then I'll turn the floor over to you. And you can handle that with the quorum, and then I can resume control at case number 2. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
My
All right.
camera.
All right. Michelle, are you ready?
Yes.
Everybody with staff and Sarah ready? Okay. All right. Everybody will turn on their cameras. That's great. We'll get everybody sworn in so Michelle can see who you are.
Can you see me?
Who's me?
Tony, I don't see you.
Tony, I don't see you. You're just a black square.
That's weird.
Hey, Tim Esparza, can you turn on your, oh, there you are.
Yeah. And Lauren is there. Lauren, your microphone is off. Are you going to be presenting today?
Yeah.
Okay, make sure just for this part, I'm going to swear the staff in, and then you can go blank again until your case comes up that you're handling, but I need to swear everybody in. Okay, so good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen who have joined us today. The Board of Zoning Adjustment is now in session to hear cases before us. Before we begin to start each case, I'm going to swear in those staff members that will be participating in various cases today. Would each of you, first of all, state your name? I'm going to just call you out and have you state your full name for the court reporter. Shu, let's start with you.
Shu Wood, City Planning.
Joe.
Joe Rexwinkle, City Planning.
Lauren.
Lauren Manning, City Planning.
Tim.
Timothy Esparza, City Planning.
Zach.
Zach Nelson, City Planning.
Olafu.
Olafu Agbaji, City Planning.
Christopher.
Christopher Huey, City Planning.
Okay. Would you each raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Then I will turn, well, let me do this. I want to do a little bit of an instruction. Some people on the online will have been through this process since we have started our Zoom platform, but I will let you know that we will call your case and then you will have to be recognized. So I will let Joe talk about the hand raising situation so you know how to join us when your case is called. Joe.
Right. Thank you, Madam Chair. So all of us in attendance on Zoom today are either a panelist or an attendee. Essentially, everyone you see on the screen now is a panelist. So that consists of board members and city staff. Any applicant who is currently on the line would be in the attendee list. And when the chair calls your case, please raise your hand. And as soon as you hear her call your case, and I'll promote you over to a panelist position. For any citizen who's interested in providing testimony on a case, the same would be true for you. Please raise your hand when the staff planner begins their presentation, and then I'll promote you over when the chair opens public testimony on the case. Once you're promoted over, you'll be able to share your audio and video. So please be cautious at that time about keeping yourself muted unless you're speaking. And also be cautious of what's in your background, since your video would also appear. When you're promoted over, it will temporarily appear as though you're being kicked out of the meeting. Don't panic. It's just moving you from one position to the next, and you'll rejoin us within a few seconds. And also one last thing, the chat feature is for your use if you have questions regarding the order of where we're at on the agenda or any technology related question. It's not to be used to provide any testimony on a project regarding like the merits of the project or anything like that. So please refrain from using it for that purpose. And I think that's everything, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Then I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Banuki to handle the first case.
Thank you. Let's call our first case, doc number 1, case number 100, address 8304 East 116th Street.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant has requested this case be dismissed, and I don't believe he's in attendance today.
Okay. I guess I should ask the public, is there anyone here on this case?
If anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand. Mr. Chair, no one's raising their hand.
Chairman
Okay.
Banuki, if no one has any other comments, I'd like to move that this case be dismissed.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Skiller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All, any nays? No nays, and the chair votes with the motion. The motion's been granted, the case is dismissed.
Thank you, Mr. Banuki. Let's then move to the next case, which is docket number 2, case number 2, with an address of 5600 Main Street. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted?
I do not see the applicant online. They have requested continuance, so that could be why they haven't joined us.
Okay, let me ask this question. I know when we last heard this case, there were several neighbors in opposition. Is there anyone from the public interested in this case online? Raise your hand.
I don't see anyone raising their hand.
Okay, with that, then who's handling? There's a quorum on this case, by the way, board members. So please note if you've been on this quorum, that would be Mr. Banuki, Mr. Ebbets, Mr. Gort, Ms. Mixdorf, myself, and Mr. Stiller. So Mr. Keller is not here. Which staff person has this? Tim, is this you?
It is Tim.
Yes,
And I
it
think he has a bit of background he can provide the board as to why
Yeah.
they're requesting continuance.
So Tim, let's hear from you about why we should grant a continuance or not.
The applicant was hoping to get more time to meet with the neighbors. She's been out there actively meeting with people who attended the last meeting, and she's made a couple of changes to her site plan as well. So she's simply just asking for a little bit more time to get that complete.
Okay, that's understandable. There was quite a bit of opposition, I think. So, all right, any questions from board members? And the recommendation, Tim, is a continuance without a fee, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So moved, Chairman Otto.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, this matter is continued until May 11th, 2021 without fee. All right, let's move on then to docket item 3, case number 10, with an address of 7714 North Donley Avenue. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted? And also, if there's anyone online today that's interested in this matter, either in support or opposition, please also raise your hand to be promoted.
Madam Chair, the applicant is John Spots. He's been promoted, and I don't see anyone else raising their hand.
Okay, I see Mr. Spots. Mr. Spots, can you turn on your microphone?
Got it.
I can hear you. Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Let's swear you in first. Would you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you state your name for the record?
John R. Spots, S-P-O-T-T-S.
Okay. Mr. Spots, have you reviewed the staff report that's been created as it relates to your request?
Yes.
And at the bottom of that report, there's a list of administrative exhibits.
Yes.
Oh, hold on a second. Having a hard time now. Sorry, let me make sure I'm on the right page. I apologize. Okay. At the bottom of that report, above Tim's signature, there's a list of administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9. Those are items connected with your case. Do you have any objection to my admitting those for the board to consider this afternoon?
No objection.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And Tim, do you want to, you have a PowerPoint, correct? Yes, in one of those exhibits. So why don't we hear from you and then we'll hear from the applicant, okay?
Of course, 1 minute and I'll bring it. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Esparza. I'm city planning staff. What we have before you is a variance to the width of a driveway approach on roughly 0.29 acres zoned Shoal Creek. Subject property is generally located north of the river and south of Missouri Route 152 within the 1st Council District. More specifically, 7714 North Donnelly is located on the west side of North Donnelly Avenue in the Davidson Farm subdivision within the Shoal Creek Valley. This is a view of the residence from North Donnelly Avenue. As you can see from this photo, which was recently taken by the applicant, the residence is currently under construction and is set to be completed in late April to early May of this year. The driveway has not yet been paved. This is a marked up site plan provided by the applicant. The red line at the bottom right-hand side of the plan indicates the proposed extension to the driveway approach. The applicant provided an example photo of how the current 22-foot planned driveway will look if it is paved. He has stated that the curve of the driveway shown in this photo will make it difficult to back out of the 3rd car garage without backing over the grass. The applicant also provided a photo of what his requested driveway will look like if approved. The photo provided is from a similar case heard last year located on the street at 8209 Northeast 77th Street. In that case, a variance was approved to extend the driveway on a new construction home. That applicant also cited extreme curve, length of the driveway, and a narrow approach, making the 3rd car garage difficult to maneuver in and out of. The current code requirement allows a maximum 22-foot driveway approach at the property line. The applicant is requesting a 3.5-foot variance from this requirement in order to build a 25.5-foot wide approach. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Tim.
Of course.
Have we lost the applicant? I don't see the applicant.
Somehow he has dropped and then rejoined as an attendee. So let me
Okay, yeah.
promote him back over to a
Sure.
panelist.
This is what happens with technology. We get it. Okay, Mr. Spots, you're back. We lost you for a minute.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. So do you want to explain to the board why you believe we should grant a variance in this request in your case?
Sure. As you can see in one of the exhibits that I have written no on, the way they make the driveway approach or the driveway with a 3rd car garage to meet the 22-foot maximum approach stated by the city comes in so dramatically that it almost makes it virtually impossible to back out of the 3rd car garage without going over the grass and the sidewalk. So what I'm requesting is that the driveway approach be extended by 3.5 feet, so it's not as dramatic as you approach the sidewalk and can come out a little bit further in the approach out to the curb. So by backing out of the 3rd car garage, I can avoid the grass and the sidewalk.
Does the board and your neighbors have no objection to this, correct, Mr. Spot?
No, ma'am. In fact, one of the neighbors has already appealed the or applied for the variance and was granted a variance on the same street I live on, or I'm building on, and was granted a variance for their for an extension at the approach.
Board members, do you have questions about this request? Having no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stiller.
I would move in case number, oh, I've lost it.
10.
Case number 10, that the board grant the request in accordance with the staff report and the site plan.
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Banuki. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Chair votes with the motion. This request has been granted as stated. Thank you, Mr. Spots.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on to the next case, which is docket item 4, case number 11, with a street address of 4335 McGee Street. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as any persons in attendance that either want to support or oppose this request? Please also raise your hands to be promoted.
Dallas, Truex, and Vince were both promoted.
Okay. Folks that were just promoted, can you please turn on your cameras and turn on your microphones, because I'll have to swear you in.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, I see Vince.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dallas is the house behind him.
Okay, all right, gentlemen, let's do,
My computer doesn't have the microphone is not working, so.
okay, that's fine. I can see you both. Let's do this. Both, I don't know who's going to speak, but please both raise your right hands and I'll swear you in, and then we'll get your names for the record. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, can each of you state your full names for the record, please?
Vince Davenport.
And
Dallas Truex.
and Dallas Truex, and that's Truex.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And you're the applicants in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there was no other persons, correct, Mr. Rexwinkle? Yeah, no, okay. Okay, gentlemen, have you reviewed the staff report that has been created as it relates to your request for variance?
Yes.
Okay, on the final page of that report, again above Tim's signature, there are exhibits that number 1 through 9. Any objection to my admitting those 9 items for the board to consider this afternoon?
No.
No objection?
No. No.
Okay. Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And again, Tim, I think you have a PowerPoint, so let's hear from you first, and then we'll have questions for the applicant.
Thank you, Madam Board. Okay, the following case is a variance to the required placement of swimming pools in the rear or side yard in residential zoning districts. Subject property is located at 4335 McGee Street. The site is generally located in the Midtown Plaza planning area in the 4th Council District. More specifically, the residence is located on a corner lot in the South Moreland Neighborhood Historic District. And as a note, the adjacent property located to the east is on the National Register of Historic Places. This is a view of the front property looking east from McGee Street. And this is a view of the residence looking north from East 44th Street. This is where the proposed pool will be installed. The applicant provided a site plan of the swimming pool. It will be located on the frontage facing 44th Street. Current code permits swimming pools in the side or rear yard only. Due to the nature of the lot, the applicant can only have a pool in their front yard. They are requesting a complete variance from the code. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
Tim, is this a corner lot?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's what I thought you said. Okay, all right. Gentlemen, explain to the board why you think we should grant the variance you're asking for.
Sure. The homeowner that lives there now had details or some pictures of a pool that was in that same location before. I don't know what year it was built or what year it was caved in or pushed in. It's just dirt, it's grass right now. The main thing is that, like Tim had said, the pool or the house faces McGee Street, so this would be a side yard. I'm not sure the difference between side and front yard in your case as far as your planning, but so the two things would be, one, there was a pool there before. I don't know what years it was, and two, there's no other place on that property to put a pool. It is enclosed by a brick wall and then fencing on that 44th Street side as well as the McGee Street side. So from a neighbor or a obstruction standpoint, it would be a hidden pool from either of those side streets.
So the front yard is actually not on the street in question. And I am familiar with this house, and I actually am familiar that this house years ago had a pool because I know the prior owner. I'll just disclose.
Oh my
God. But anyway, so and if I understand this property, this is next to the Art Institute. Is that correct? So on that side of the street, you actually don't have other houses, you have Art Institute buildings, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the neighbors that are residential to the other side, no one's voiced a concern about putting a pool at this location?
Not from what we've had. There's a little alley between, I don't think it's a street. I think it's a little alley between those two houses, and that neighbor hasn't said anything about putting a pool there.
Okay. Board members, do you have questions?
Yeah, Tim, or
Yeah.
is there any issue with the size of the pool, or is it just a matter of its placement being the reason why they need a variance?
It's a matter of placement. So it meets the other setbacks, and it seems as though it's screened from the streets.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
this is an in-ground pool, correct?
And
Yes.
Mr. Davenport, is that correct? Yes.
Yes, that's right.
It is.
So what you're saying is there's no visibility of that pool from the side street?
Correct. There's a current brick wall there, and so it would be below that grade.
I think the photograph that we were shown by Tim is an older photograph. I think what was there was a wrought iron fence in that picture, but now it's a brick.
Could be. The homeowners were going to plant, they do want some privacy from the Art Institute and from McGee Street. So they were going to plant a row of evergreens or some bushes or something to add even more privacy for themselves. But yeah, there's a structure there now.
And again, as I said earlier, Tom, if it matters, across the street is Art Institute buildings. So they're not looking out onto another residence. And so you really, I don't even remember, I'm trying to remember what the side of the buildings look like over there. I should remember, my office building is now 2 blocks from here. So I'm familiar with this area. I drive by it frequently. I just can't remember which buildings are next there. I apologize.
Thank you.
And this is a corner lot, so they don't, this is considered their front yard because it's the longest side, but technically it's not their front yard. That's why these corners always have a little bit of a difficulty meeting the requirements because that's how the code works. So, all right, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, in case number 11, I recommend the board approve the applicant's request in accordance with site plan and staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request is granted as stated. Thank you. Gentlemen, are you on the next case as well?
Yes.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, great. So let's call the next case, which is docket number 5, case number 12, with an address of 9309 Northeast 93rd Terrace. Gentlemen, you've already been sworn in, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you please both again for this case state your names for the record?
Vince Davenport.
Thank you.
Dallas Truex.
Thank you. Is there anyone in attendance that is here to either support or oppose this request for variance? Please raise your hand to be promoted.
No one is raising their hand.
Thank you, Joe. Gentlemen, have you reviewed the staff report connected to this application?
Yes.
Do you have any objections to my admitting exhibits 1 through 9 found on the final page of the report?
No.
Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Tim, would you do your PowerPoint presentation, please?
So what we have before you is a variance to the rear setback requirement of swimming pools on the property located at 9309 Northeast 93rd Terrace. The subject property is generally located north of the river in the city's first council district. More specifically, the site is located along a cul-de-sac on the south side of Northeast 93rd Terrace. The site is surrounded by single-family residential, but does have permanent open space that abuts the backyard. The applicant provided this site plan to show the proposed pool that will be located in the rear yard of the property. And this is a closer look where you can see the proposed 6-foot 3-inch setback where the pool encroaches into the rear yard setback. City code requires swimming pools to be set back at least 10 feet from the rear property line. For the proposed pool, the applicant will require a 3-foot 9-inch variance from city code. And as a side note, there was an approved variance for a pool setback at 9409 Northeast 93rd Terrace, which is right down the street from the subject property. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Tim. Gentlemen, explain to us why you can't place this pool so you don't need the variance.
Because of the elevation in the yard and the narrowness of the yard, we have to have some steps coming out of the house to the pool deck. And that distance between the house and the water was getting really tight for the homeowner. And behind the yard is a common ground or just a wooded area that no houses are being built on. And like Tim had said, we had built a pool up the street, about 4 or 5 houses with the same issue, and they requested their own variance. And in that same neighborhood, we've had 2 others. The yards are just tight in that Copperleaf neighborhood. And at least in this case, because we have just the common space and not a rear neighbor, it's too close to be comfortable stepping out of the house and into the pool area.
And the pool itself that you're proposing will be fully fenced in?
Correct.
Okay. And the common area space is never to be built upon by a deed restriction?
Correct.
Okay. Board members, questions for the applicant on this matter? Hearing no questions, I'd entertain a motion on docket number 5.
Madam Chair, in case number 12, I recommend that the applicant's request be granted in accordance with the site plan and the staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Banuki. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with this motion. The matter has been granted. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move then to docket number 6, case number 15, with an address of 225 West 66th Terrace, Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted? And in addition, if you're here and interested in this case, either to support or oppose it, please also raise your hand to be promoted.
Madam Chair, I've promoted John Curtin and E. Regal.
Folks, if you could please turn on your cameras and your microphones so I can swear you in. Ms. Regal, I see you. Okay. 1 minute. Let me see. Are you here in opposition or support, Ms. Regal?
No, this is my property.
Oh, this is your property. Okay. So Mr. Curtin is he with the contractor then?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Curtin, we're still waiting for him to come live, as they say. And I see you, Mr. Curtin. Your microphone is still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
I can, Mr. Curtin. Okay, all right.
Chairman.
So let's do this. Would you both please raise your hands? Right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. Could each of you state your name for the record? We'll start with you, Ms. Regal.
Emily Regal.
Thank you, Ms. Regal. Mr. Curtin.
Yeah, John Curtin.
Okay. And there was no one else online, correct, that was interested in this case? No one else was asked to be promoted, correct, Joe?
That's correct.
Okay. Ms. Regal, Mr. Curtin, have you reviewed the staff report that has been prepared for your application today?
Yes.
Okay. On
Yes.
on page 3 or on page 3 of the report, you will see a list of administrative exhibits that are connected to the application. Those number 1 through 9. Do you have any objection to my admitting those for the board to review and consider this afternoon? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I do not.
Okay.
Yeah. No objections. No.
Sorry. Give me 1 minute. I apologize. I thought I had put everything on do not disturb, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
I do have the letter from the neighborhood association that I received later. Should that be included or?
I'm sorry, just 1 second. Okay, sorry, I now have it fixed. Sorry, I apologize. I violated my own rules of protocol today and didn't turn off all my phones. So.
And excuse me, Chairwoman Ottawa.
Yes.
I believe we looked at the written report, but I didn't see the 9 conditions that you just discussed.
They're not conditions, they're administrative exhibits. They're documents, yeah.
Okay, I know what those should be. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I believe, Madam Court Reporter, did I admit those 9 exhibits? Okay, she's shaking her head at me, so that answer is yes. Okay, all right. So, Lauren, you have this case, is that correct?
Yeah, and I have the letter from the neighborhood association as well, and I put that in my slideshow. We can add that as an exhibit if you'd like.
Is that exhibit 10 then, I believe, would be next?
Yes,
correct?
sure.
Okay, so I will, I'm going to, is it notarized, Lauren?
I will have to check.
Because if it's not notarized, I probably need to consider whether that's admissible.
Let me see real fast. I thought Emily, John, was it?
I don't think it was, Lauren. I'm sorry.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, and
Never
then.
mind.
Mhm.
Is it in support of your case
Yes.
or in opposition? It's in support? Okay.
Yes.
Then I'm not sure we need it, but if one of you witnessed the signatory to the letter, I could take that testimony and consider admitting it.
I did not see it being signed. No, I just received it from them.
Okay, then I'm without it being notarized, I'm probably not going to, I'm not going to admit it. So we can show exhibit 10 as offered, Sarah, but we will note it as not admitted, okay? Okay.
When we get to that slide, we'll just skip over it.
Yeah, sorry, and that's the problem with it. I know it's part of your presentation, so, okay.
It was hard to get that letter, unfortunately.
Well, I'm
okay.
sorry. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Lauren.
Okay, yeah, so let me share my screen real fast. I have been having some network issues, so we'll see. Let me know if you don't see this correctly.
We can see it, Lauren. I know you can't see that we can see it, so we can.
Present. Okay, so for case number BZA 2021-0015, it's a variance for the address of 225 West 66th Terrace in the Armor Hills neighborhood. This is the site in the grand scheme of the Kansas City, Missouri city limits. As you can see, the property is right off of Memorial Road in Brookside. And this is the front of the property. These are several neighborhood letters that are notarized in support from neighbors. So we have 4 of those. This is your site plan. As you can see, this is the overall site with the addition being on the rear. It's a zoomed in photo. As you can see, the addition would be 3 feet from the current setback and closer, as in 8.7 feet to the existing garage, which is so we would need a variance for both. This is kind of an overall view of the project. 16 addition would be demolished and then the new family room addition would be added. With the second story and roof plan, this is an elevation to give you an idea. So if this was the neighborhood's request, but we'll skip that. Anyway, so the minimum feet between the garage and the home needs to be 10 feet. They're proposing 8.7, so the variance A would be for 1.3 feet. Variance B would be the side lot. The minimum is 4.9 feet. They're proposing 2.6, so 2.3 feet would be the variance request. And that concludes my staff report.
Lauren, could you put back up just the front of the house quickly? Sure. Now that we understand.
Yeah, so this is the addition, and then if you want me to go to, this is the front.
Okay, so this is going to be in the back of the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And if I can add, the addition does not get any closer to the property line than the current structure of the house.
Yeah,
So
that's correct. So it's just in the same footprint.
Okay. All right. Lauren, you can stop sharing your screen. All right. So Ms. Regal, Mr.
Yes.
Burton, explain to the board why you believe we should grant this request for variance.
So this addition on the back of the house is essentially replacing an addition that has been there since well before I've lived here. And it's to be able to take that down and then add a full 2-story addition, which stays in line with the current structure of the house from north to south. The first floor actually continues to be set back from the current structure of the house to allow more space in the side yard. And so it's just the second floor that actually continues straight back from the current west wall of the house.
And let me ask this question. Lauren, in your presentation, you went through them kind of quickly, but I thought there were 4 notarized support letters.
Yes.
I was going to check with Sarah. I don't know that those were marked as exhibits. Were they, Sarah?
No, I don't see them identified as exhibits.
Okay, so.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, Lauren. I know this is a newer presentation role for you, right? No,
Yeah.
no judgment. We just need to get it right. I think we marked the one that we didn't admit as 10. So I believe those should be marked. You want to be collectively, Sarah, as 11, or do you want to mark them individually?
I think we can do it collectively. That's fine, as Exhibit 11.
Okay.
The 4 letters that were shown.
Okay, I'm going to admit those, that Exhibit 11, since the board has already seen them, and as they flashed by, I saw that they were notarized, so I'm not concerned that they didn't meet our guidelines. All right. So Ms. Regal, there's currently, what I understand, a 1-story addition at this location, and you're simply wanting to put a second story. And what is the addition what purpose does it serve in the home? What will it serve?
So the first floor will be a family room, and then the second floor will become a main bedroom, bathroom, suite area.
And the letters of support that we saw, are any of those from the neighbor that would be to that side of the home?
Yes, Sean and Kate McDonald are my neighbors to the west.
Okay, and so they are not opposed to this addition going up another story?
No, they're not. And they actually, on their property, they've recently built a fairly large screened-in porch addition. So essentially, I'm just running even with a roof line that they have. So they have no view, I guess I would say.
And do you share a driveway with them?
No, I have a private driveway.
But on the other side is, okay, all right.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Board members, do you have questions about this request for variance? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, Mark Ebbets here. In case number 15, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with the site plan and staff report.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Everyone doing okay? Anyone need a rest break? Okay, we're going to keep going then. Bear with me. I'm having technical difficulties seeing the staff reports. One moment. Okay, let's move to docket item 7, case number 17. The address is 6641 Edgevale Road. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted? And also, if you're online and you are in support or opposition of this request, please also raise your hand to be promoted.
Madam Chair, I've promoted Dwayne Hodges and James Hopkins.
Okay. Mr. Hopkins and Mr. Hodges, if you would put on your camera and your microphone. I see you both, gentlemen. Would you please raise your right hands to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Could each of you state your name for the record, starting with you, Mr. Hopkins?
My name is James Hopkins.
And you're the owner of the property, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And Mr. Hodges, would you state your name, please?
Wayne Hodges.
Okay. And there's no opposition or support, is that correct? Joe, that's present?
No one else has raised their hand.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, have you reviewed the staff report connected to your application for variance?
Yes.
On the final page, there is a listing of administrative exhibits that number 1 through 9. Any objection to my admitting those for the board to consider this afternoon?
No.
Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Lauren, I think this one's yours again. Before we get started, do you have any other exhibits that we should talk about before we start?
Not on this one, sorry.
Perfect. Okay, then let's hear from you with the PowerPoint.
Okay. This one up here. All right, so for case number 17, 6641 Edgevale. The house is actually just down the road from the last one in the Armor Hills Neighborhood Association. So you can see this is on Edgevale, kind of a trapezoidal lot shape. This is the front of the home. This is the application and the plan for the additional garage. You can see this is the existing home. This is the proposed garage. It's 6 feet from the, sorry, it's better, from the existing home and 5 feet from the alley and only 6 inches from the side lot. This is the design of the garage, single car, shingle roof. The accessory structure minimum distance setback is minimum 10 feet. They're proposing 6. So the variance amount would be for 4 feet. The side yard setback, minimum setback is 1.5 feet. They're proposing 6 inches. So the variance amount would be for 1 foot. Any slides necessary? That concludes my staff report.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Mr. Hodges, Mr. Hopkins, why do you believe the board should grant this variance request?
Answer that, there's a park right across the street, so parking is very tight, and it's husband and wife, they both have cars. They'd like to be able to park around back so that it's closer to get into the house.
What's the current parking garage situation for this house?
There is no garage there. There was at one time. I'm not certain when that was torn down, but it was years ago.
Go ahead, Mr. Hopkins. I'm sorry.
I'm going to jump in. It was in probably the last couple of years. The previous owner tore it down. We found some satellite images. You could still see it in there. So it was within the last couple of years that the garage came down.
And you know the dimensions of the old garage and it's basically its footprint. Is it different than what you're proposing here in any way?
It was listed as a 2-car garage on the tax record. It was approximately the same size, more or less, but it was attached to the back of the house. This is a detached garage.
I see. And Mr. Hopkins, have you discussed this proposed structure with your neighbors?
We have. I actually spoke to the neighbors to the north and to the south. The neighbors to the south actually are tenants. They rent the home. So the neighbor isn't present. I ran into him on Friday and walked him through. He actually attended the meeting in March when we had a continuance. I think he wanted to make sure that we weren't building a garage that was sticking out into the alley and that would limit his access to the back of his house, which isn't the case. So I think he just wanted to make sure we weren't doing something that was going to be encroaching on alley access. Neighbor to the north is also aware of the garage. I'm not aware of any major issues.
Okay. All right, board members, questions of the applicant or Mr. Hodges?
Mr. Hopkins, Mark Ebbets here. Where do you access the alley from? What street is that from?
The alley is accessed on, sit tight with me 1 second here. Let me pull a map up so I want to say it's on 66th Terrace is where you access the alley. I guess that would actually be Grand Avenue, where Grand Avenue meets 66th Terrace. It's at the north end of our street. You come down the alley. We're the second to last house in the alley.
Right, and it looks like from those other homes on Edgevale, a lot of those homes share the same alley. Is that my understanding?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Oh, yes. This is Tom Gorantz. I have a question. Are you going to be coming in from the alley or from the front?
From the alley.
From the alley.
Correct.
That's pretty tough to turn in there with 2 cars?
It is, and that's part of the reason we're shifting it towards that northern property line and asking for that variance. It's just a matter of trying to finagle a little more room to come around that corner. It's tight, attached or detached, it's a snug fit. Interestingly enough, for what it's worth, the neighbor to the south told me that the previous owner drove a big Yukon SUV and was able to get it back there, which I was kind of surprised about.
Thank you.
With the cars today that almost drive themselves, maybe you could just program make it pull in there. I laugh when I see all the technology that now helps us drive our vehicles. So, all right, any other questions? Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stiller.
in case number 17, I would move that the board grant the request in accordance with the staff report and site plan.
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Gork. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to docket number 8. Case number 18 with an address of 217 West 125th Terrace. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, along with any persons in support or opposition? Please also raise your hands to be promoted.
Madam Chair, I've promoted Weston Coble and Jeff Hutchison.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay, I see Mr. Hutchison. Mr. Hutchison, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And Mr. Coble, could you turn on both your microphone and your camera? I can now see you. Gentlemen, would you both please raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I do.
Could each of you now state your name for the record?
Jeff Hutchison.
Weston Coble.
Okay. Gentlemen, have you reviewed the staff report that's been created as it relates to your request for variance?
I have.
Okay. And Mr. Coble, are you both part of the architecture?
I am with Ellswood Smith Carlson Architects.
Okay.
Jeff and Tamara Hutchinson are the clients or owners of the property.
Okay, thank you for the clarification so the record is clear. Thank you. In the staff report that you reviewed, Mr. Coble, do you have any objections to our admitting exhibits 1 through 9 that are listed on the final page of the staff report?
No.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Lauren, and there's a PowerPoint. Would you please present for us?
Right. All right, case number 18 for 217 West 125th Terrace. The overall site plan is in the southern part of Kansas City.
Hey, Lauren, can you get a little closer to your microphone? You're breaking
Oh,
up with us.
sure, sorry.
No, that's okay. And if I'm having a hard time, I'm worried about the court reporter hearing you. So
Yeah.
you're doing fine. No problem. I'm helpful to everybody. You'll get used to me. So
Good. Yeah, I don't have a headset on today, so sometimes that helps. But
okay, you're doing fine.
anyway, so this property is backing up to the Blue Hills Golf Course, and as you can see, it's the end of the cul-de-sac right off of Warnell or Warnell, depending on who you are in Kansas City. This is the front of the home, and this is just from Google Street View. This is an aerial including the golf courses as well, just an additional one. This is the rear elevation of the home, so you can see lots of windows, but not a lot of outdoor space and entertaining. So this is the view onto the golf course. Right, amazing location. So here's your overall site plan and the survey spot. So the first variance is for the front of the yard, and then there's the rear of the yard. So the front would be a new porch roof enclosure, and then the rear would be a screened-in porch area. This is the new entry porch addition, and then the screened-in porch on the rear. This is just to give you a better idea of the rear elevation with the new addition. The front setback minimum is 35 feet. They're proposing 33 to allow for 2 feet of the enclosed front porch. And the rear setback minimum is 30 feet. They're proposing 21. The variance amount would be for 9 feet for the rear screened in porch. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you, Lauren. Gentlemen, why do you believe the board should grant these variance requests?
If you look at the plans, you can see there's really not a existing outdoor living space on this current home, and the homeowners would like to have a place to enjoy outside on the golf course. And really, there's no way to add an addition to the home the way it currently sits without encroaching upon those setbacks. The current house is built fairly close to the existing setback. They have talked to the neighbors. They've talked to Blue Hills Country Club about this addition. I think everybody's excited about it. You know, it's a great enhancement to the neighborhood, a great enhancement from the golf course, and really help modernize their home with today's living standards.
And will there be, so Blue Hills has approved what you're proposing, correct? And is that correct, Mr. Hutchinson?
That is correct.
Okay. And will you be fencing the backyard, or is that against the deed restriction?
We will not be fencing.
Okay. Okay.
And really, there's no neighbor that this would directly impact in any way. The way that the house sits on a cul-de-sac, every house looks away from it, so they would not be impeding anybody else's view.
Okay.
And we've shared those plans with both neighbors to both sides of us, and no objections from either one.
And for the front porch, it's just simply some columns and it's like a portico, right?
Yes. You are correct. Yes, we'd be pouring, we'd be doing a couple columns out in the front with a shed roof back to the existing home. There's currently a shed porch that's very similar to that. It just happens to be a lot lower, and it makes a very dark and tight entrance when you come into the home.
All right, board members, questions regarding this request? Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion. Do I have a motion?
Sure, Madam Chair. In case number 18, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with the site plan and staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Vanucci. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, and thank you, board.
Okay. Let's take the next case then, which is docket number 9, case number 24. It has an address of 401 East 54th Street. Would the applicant please raise their hand, as well as anyone online, to either give us input in support or opposition so that we can promote you.
So I've promoted Angie Gabler and Marcia Lane.
Okay. Ms. Gabler, could you turn on your microphone, please?
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Lane, if you could turn on your camera and microphone so I can identify who you are, what your interest in the case is. Okay. Oops. She was there. Now I can see you. I can see you both. Okay. All right. And you're the property owners, correct, Ms. Lane?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do this. I want to swear you all in first, and then I'll have you all three state your names for the record. So the court reporter has that. Would you all three raise your right hands with me to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
All right. Ms. Gabler, let's start with you. Could you state your full name for the record?
Sure. It's Angie Gabler. I'm with Strata Architecture.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Lane, would you state your names, please?
I'm Marcia Lane.
Alonzo Lane III.
Okay, thank you. All right, folks, have you had a chance to review the application, I'm sorry, the staff report that was created as a result of your application?
Yes.
Okay, in that report, at the end of the report, there's a list of administrative exhibits. They number 1 through 9. Any objection to my admitting those items for the board to consider this afternoon?
No, that's fine. You're all good. We have 2 additional notarized letters from neighbors that were submitted onto Compass yesterday that I'd like to submit today, if possible.
Lauren, do you have those as a part of your presentation?
I don't, but.
So if you, let's see, how do we want to do that? Do you want to share those with us, Ms. Gabler? Okay, well, I'll let you do that in your presentation. There's 2 letters. Yes. Sarah, do you want to mark separately or together? Sarah.
I think we could mark those together as Exhibit 10 if that.
Okay, are they both in support, Ms. Gabler?
Yes.
And are they both notarized?
Yes.
Okay, then let's mark those as Exhibit 10. Okay, and we'll deal with entering that when you actually show them so I can see them real quick to make sure that what you are presenting to me is accurate. Okay, all right. So Lauren, let's hear from you with your PowerPoint, and then we'll have questions from the applicant, or responses probably from the applicant to my questions.
Sure. And Angie, you have a presentation as well too, right? So.
Yeah, I just figured I would supplement whatever you have, Lauren.
Okay, I will go with mine, but
no, that's how we do it. You always go first, Lauren. Yep. And then she gets.
Yeah, hers might be better. So in case mine doesn't answer everything. All right, so in case number 24, 401 East 54th Street. The home is in the Crestwood neighborhood. And this is right off of Brookside Boulevard and Oak Street. You guys are probably very aware of the condos across the street there. So yeah, this house is right across the street. This is the front view of the house, as well as the side view, which is where we will be talking about the most, as well as as far as the addition. This is the schematic. These are the elevations showing the addition with the 2-car garage and upstairs kitchen and bedroom. This will allow, this is the overall site plan, including the existing house as well as the proposed addition. This site plan as well is the darker, thicker lines are the existing homes, and the thinner lines are the addition. So this will be the basement plan for the 2-car garage and elevator to allow for the lanes to enter their home with much more ease. The upstairs will be a master bedroom and bath to allow for the lanes to stay in their home. This is the elevation as well, south and west. The north, as you can see, hardly anything will change. East elevation. So the rear setback minimum is 28 feet 4 inches. They're proposing 8 feet. So the variance amount would be for 20 feet 4 inches. And then the east setback proposing 2 feet. So the variance amount would be.
And Lauren, that was the one that we weren't going to do. Was
okay. So
that was I think the mistake on there.
Okay, so scratch the east setback.
Right.
It's just the rear.
Yep. Okay, so there's only one variance request. So board members, please note in terms of the staff report and any motion made, they're only asking for variance A, not B. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, so sorry about that. Anyway, that concludes my staff report.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gabler, would you like to present to the board why you believe we should grant this variance asked for?
Sure. You know, I was called in because the Lanes would like to be able to remain in their home. They've prepared a little statement for you. I might let them talk real quick and then I could supplement. Is that okay?
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hi. We've lived at our home. We bought our home in Crestwood in 1984. So we've lived here for 34 years and we'd love to be able to continue to live here, and giving us the ability to garage 2 cars. Currently, we only have a 1-car basement garage, And so we would be able to house 2 cars safely off the street. And one of the other issues is we have a member of our extended family that is in a wheelchair. And the only time he can join us for family events is outside on the patio that he can access from our neighbor's driveway. And so that would be a wonderful addition for us to be able to do. We chose working with Angie because we are very, very conscious of the historic nature of our neighborhood and our house, which is approaching 100 years old. And so we're very sensitive to the fact that we do want to keep the look in keeping with the house and the neighborhood.
Mrs. Lane, how do your neighbors feel about this proposal? Have you talked with them?
Yes, they are our neighbor to the east and our neighbor to the south. Both have submitted letters of support.
And that's what Ms. Gabler will talk about in a minute. And do you have a neighborhood association, since it's sort of a historic area? Have you sought their input on this?
We do have a neighborhood association. I didn't think to approach the association, honestly. I just approached neighbors, and a number of them know what we would like to do.
Okay, all right. Board members, any questions for the homeowners? Okay, Ms. Gabler, why don't you then tell us what else we need to hear here, and we can talk about your exhibits.
Sure. How do you want me to show? Am I able to show?
Can you share your screen? Yes, I think she can do that. Correct.
Okay.
Joe?
Yes, she should be able to.
Okay. I'm not seeing a button down here.
At the bottom, it should.
There it is.
Share button, share your screen. Make sure you have your items up on your screen so you can click them. Yeah.
Okay, good. So just real quick, this is just an overview of their home. So their home faces East 54th Street, and their current driveway is from Oak. And they do share kind of a curb cut here with the neighbor to the south, but their driveways are separate with a landscaped strip and a retaining wall. So currently they drive in here and enter the house here. And then I have a couple of photographs to show you. If I can.
We marked her presentation as an exhibit.
I don't believe it is.
Okay, yeah. So Angie, and that's my fault. I didn't realize that. So okay. I'm going to admit your presentation as an exhibit. And if it includes the 2 letters, they'll still have a separate exhibit number. That'll be 11. District 12, is that correct, Sarah, the entire presentation?
So we marked the letters as exhibit 10.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I guess the presentation would be exhibit 11.
Okay, exhibit 11 will be admitted, and once I see the letters, I'll deal with admitting those at that time. Okay, Angie, go ahead.
Great. So I just took today a couple of quick photographs to show the street view. I'm looking south on Oak Street here.
Okay, we don't see those yet. We just see, we still see the map.
Okay, let me try that again. Sorry about that. Here we go. All right.
Yes, now we see those.
I'm gonna go back real quick. So this is the front of the home. I'm looking down Oak, looking south. And then this is the driveway, and you can see the neighbor's shared driveway here to the south. One of the things I wanted to point out is the density of the neighborhood here. The side yard setback requirements for the neighborhood are 8 feet. And you can see how close the homes, this is pretty typical for the neighborhood for Crestwood. I'm gonna go back here real quick. So the proposed addition is going in right here per those drawings that Lauren shared with you. I can pull this back up here real quick. All right, are you still seeing my screen okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great.
Well, actually, we're now back to the same photo. You had.
Okay, let me try this again. I think what's happening is it's showing like it's on mine, but it's not. So there we go. Yeah. I just thought I would zoom in real quick here. So the existing residents are with the dashes and the dots here. And then the proposed addition is here to the south. Because this is a corner lot, it only has a front yard and one side yard, and then the corner, the street side, and then the backyard. And in this district, the backyard setback is based on either a percentage or a maximum. So they're required to have a 28-foot 4-inch setback, which would put the setback in this backyard along. Can you see my mouse if I do this? Yes, okay. So that makes the rear yard setback about 28 feet 4 inches here in the back. What we're requesting is an 8-foot setback. And what that would give us is room to put in the full addition off of this back property line. And then we would be pouring a little sidewalk and side stairs and retaining wall. The retaining wall is existing, but we would be repairing it in place. The other thing that I wanted to note on here is that by plat, it says that the side yard setback at the corner here, so at 54th and Oak, is supposed to be 35 feet, but per the original construction of the home, it was always 24 feet 2 inches or 0.2, and we're requesting that same, that the new addition align with the side of the house, so we wouldn't be encroaching any more into that area. Side yard setbacks over here are actually only required to be 15 feet, so this must be something per their plat that says 35, but we haven't come across that anywhere else in the zoning for the neighborhood. So we're requesting the 8-foot setback to be able to do the addition here in the back of the yard, and that will still allow them to retain a majority of the backyard patio space that they have on the house. And then I do have, I don't think I'm going to go through those plans again since Lauren did those already with you. If anyone has questions on them, I'm happy to kind of answer those questions. Otherwise, I thought I might just go directly into, I've got the 2 letters here, and these are notarized. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom out.
Exhibit 10 will be admitted.
Okay. All right, so the first letter are from the Lances, and they are the neighbors that live directly south of the lanes, and they are in support of the new addition. And then the second letter we have is from the Powells, and they live east of the lanes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Gabler. Okay, if you would stop sharing your screen, thank you, so I can see everyone again. All right, board members, do you have any questions about this request after both of those presentations? Hearing no questions, I would entertain a motion and remind the board that it is only variance A that is being requested from the staff report. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Stiller?
I would move is it case 35 or 24?
24.
In case number 24, I would move that the board grant the variance request A, not B, in accordance with the staff report and site plan.
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Banuki. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This request has been granted. Thank you, folks. Enjoy your new addition.
Thank you so much.
All right. Let's take one more case, and then we're gonna take just a brief break. Okay, so let's move on to docket number 10, which is case number 35 with an address of 2719 Bellevue Avenue. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, along with anyone here in support or opposition? Also raise your hand to be promoted.
Madam Chair, I'm promoting Richard Hernandez. I do believe that the applicant on this case is requesting dismissal. Tim, will you confirm if I have that mixed up?
That is correct. They are withdrawing their application. They submitted a new site plan that no longer needs a variance.
All right, I see, let's see. Mr. Hernandez, is he the applicant?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
What is your interest in this case?
I'm the neighborhood president, the president of the West Side Neighborhood Association. And I was just going to make a comment on that, but since he's backed off and
Okay,
doesn't need a variance, I was going to kind of ask you to put it aside for a while because he's got a lot of properties and they need to be addressed.
okay,
Some of them actually need to be tore down, but he hasn't addressed them.
okay.
So,
Well,
okay.
since he's dismissing that, we won't be
Yeah.
hearing this today, and it sounds like he has a new plan, so you might want to look at that and.
Yes,
and
I'll
tweak
be
that.
watching. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hernandez, for coming today. All right, so understanding where we are with dismissal, do I have a motion to dismiss this matter?
So moved.
I have a motion for Mr. Banuki. Do I have a second?
Second from Ebbets.
I have a second for Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with this motion, the matter is dismissed. Okay, let's take just a 5-minute break so people can rest, and we'll be right back. So folks online, just bear with us. We'll take a 5-minute rest, okay?
Michelle, do you have everything you need? Are you doing okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. We're about halfway through, so. Are board members back? Mr. Ebbets, Mr. Stiller, are you there? Okay, I see Mr. Ebbets. Mr. Stiller, are you with us? Not yet. Up there he is.
Tommy,
We see him. Okay, all right. Do we have everybody else back staff-wise that we need? Okay. All right, let's get back on the record then, folks. I think we left off at docket number 11, case number 37, with an address of 3800 Walnut Street. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted? As well as any parties here either interested in support or opposition to this request.
Madam Chair, I'm promoting Josh Mobley and Nadia Carpolo.
Okay. Mr. Mobley and Ms. Carpolo, please turn on your microphones and your cameras so I can swear you in, please. I see you, Mr. Mobley. Can you speak so I can hear you?
Hello.
I can hear you. Thank you. Ms. Carpolo, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Here we go.
And Mr. Mobley, you're the applicant, correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Carpolo, are you here in support or opposition, or are you part of the applicant?
I'm with the board, the neighborhood association, and really neither. We're just requesting time to review, neither opposing or in support at this time.
So you're asking for a continuance of today's hearing? Okay,
Yes.
we need to address that first. Mr. Mobley, were you aware that the neighborhood association wanted to review your request before today?
No, I was not.
Okay. Are you opposed to them having a chance to review this request?
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So if no one is opposition to this, that's helpful to us. We meet monthly, so the next meeting would be in May, I believe. Does that give you two time to do the neighborhood meetings that are necessary? Ms. Carpolo?
Well, yes, we do actually have a meeting on the 21st of this month, and we would welcome Mr. Mobley to attend and share his project.
Okay. So Mr. Mobley, do you understand that request, that if you could manage to be with them on the 21st of April, then you would be ready to come back before us in May, and hopefully you'll have their agreement and this will be a lot simpler. When is our meeting in May? Let me look at my calendar. That would be May 11th. Does
That's
that work
right.
for both of you? Mr.
Yeah.
Mobley, does that work?
Yeah, the new,
Okay, all right. Having that discussion, do I have someone from the board willing to give me a motion to continue this case until May 11th?
So moved.
I have a motion for Mr. Banuki. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second for Mr. Siller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with this motion. This matter is continued to May 11th. And folks, we hope you work this out and we'll see you then. Okay?
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving then to the next case, which is docket number 12, case number 41, with an address of 6645 Brookside Road. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as anyone here interested in support or opposition?
Madam Chair, I did not prepare a presentation for you. I just realized that.
Okay.
I'm happy to pull up what we have available and show that to you. It just wouldn't be in a PowerPoint form unless we were to set this aside for a few moments for me to put that together.
You know what, in fairness to the applicant and to you, Joe, that might be better for all of us.
Okay.
I mean, I know and to the applicant on this matter, I beg your patience for just a minute. I know we've had some staffing changes at the city that were unexpected. So Mr. and Mrs. Oblenis, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you to hold on. I'm going to put you back out in the attendees and give Joe a few minutes to prepare this, because I'd rather do that in an organized fashion, which will make it easier for all of us. So I want to take one more case to give Joe a time to catch up, and then hopefully we'll be ready to do you next. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Joe, do you want someone else to handle the next case so you can work on that?
Yeah, the next case is being handled by Shu.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. All right. So we'll hold 12. Let's go to 13. That is docket number 13, case number 26, with an address of 6404 Northwest 97th Street. Would the applicant and any interested parties please raise their hands so you can be promoted? And Shu, when you see those people, if you could promote them.
Madam Chair, I've promoted Dustin Burton. He's with the applicant.
Okay. Is there anyone else interested in this case? Okay, doesn't look like it.
Nope.
All right. Mr. Burton, can you turn on your microphone, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Could you raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Could you state your full name for the record?
Dustin Burton.
And what is your connection to the case?
I am the applicant on this, as well as representing the property owner, the development.
Okay. Have you reviewed the staff report that has been connected on this matter?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And do you have any objection to the administrative exhibits that are found on the last page of that report, that number 1 through 9?
No, I don't.
Okay. Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And Shu, if you would do your presentation, and then we'll ask Mr. Burton questions.
Sounds good. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate your patience. Here's the variance application in front of you. This is a variance requested for Post Hill Phase 2 project. Here's the general location of the subject site. It's located in the north end, close to the KCI Airport. More specifically, it's located on the east side of Skyview Avenue and south of the Old Tiffany Spring Road. As you can see, the highlighted area is the Post Hill Phase 2 project, and directly to the north is the Post Hill Phase 1 project. This subject site is zoned R6, and there are single family uses to its east, which is zoned R7.5, and multifamily residential zone R1.5 to its south. Directly across the street from Skyview is undeveloped business zone area B3-3. You probably do remember there was a variance case for the Post Hill project, phase 1 project, which was directly to the north of this subject site. The applicant used to ask for a variance in the amount of 20-foot setback to allow them to build the single-family homes along Skyview Avenue. And today's variance is similar to that. Here's the view to looking at east from Skyview Avenue. Again, it's undeveloped currently. And this is the view looking west from Skyview Avenue. It's also undeveloped. And this is the phase 2 project site. As you can see, lot number 12, lot number 13, lot number 19 and 20 are the lots the applicant is requesting a variance for. These are some model homes the applicant is showing. The variance the applicant requested is a platted setback from Skyview Avenue. The platted setback requires 50 feet from the Skyview Avenue right-of-way. The applicant is proposing a 30 feet setback to stay in consistency with the northern properties. The variance amount would be 20 feet. That shall conclude my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Shu. Mr. Burton, Mr. Burton, why such a large setback change?
I think the site, when it was master planned back in the 80s, was platted with that 50-foot setback along Skyview. There's really been no development on that since. I think the initial project had some row houses going in, and those had ended, and nothing was really occurring really for the last 15 years. So my client came in and bought up some of the remaining properties on the north, those lots on the north that obtained the variance. And what they found in the product they wanted to use, that 50-foot setback was really prohibitive to putting in those units. So that's initially why they came in with that setback reduction, going to the 30 feet from the 50. In this case, they're wanting to continue that to the southern properties. And so that's why we're here today. I will note that I think the 30-foot setback is kind of the maximum that's allowed by code per day. So I think we're still complying with the R6 zoning code at a 30-foot minimum. So it's really just kind of relief from that additional 20 feet.
And on the other side of Skyview, there's nothing built at this time?
That's correct.
Okay. Shu, is the city concerned about this large variance request?
Staff doesn't have specific concern about it since it is in conformance with the project directly to the north. And there is no current, as staff knows, there's no current application for developing the properties directly across the street, which is on B3-3, which will be business. The reason why it was platted for 50 feet was initially there was a landscape buffering, including berming, that requires 50 feet along Skyview. However, as the applicant stated, it has been vacant for quite a while, and staff doesn't see any, dramatic changes for decrease the amount of the setback at this point.
Okay, I just wanted to understand staff's understanding of the situation. Okay, all right.
That's the best of my understanding.
Okay, thank you, Shu. All right, board members, questions for either Mr. Burton or Ms. Wood?
Madam Chair, one question.
Certainly, Mr. Stiller.
Mr. Burton, looks like there's 8 houses, if I'm counting right, that are part of the request.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. 8 houses on, I believe, 4 lots right now.
My question is, and this might not be pertinent, but would this project move forward with the loss of 8 units?
I think that's a pretty big a loss when you put it in perspective. I think there's only a total of 30 out there, so that's a pretty big percentage of loss for them.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion then.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stiller?
in case number 26, I would move that the board grant the request in accordance with the staff report and the site plan.
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Gornick. I have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request is granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure you want to stop sharing your screen. Thank you. All right, Joe, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, let's go back to docket number 12, case number 41, with an address of 6645 Brookside Road. Okay, and I believe we have Mr. and Mrs. O'Blennis on the screen with us. Would you folks please raise your right hands to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Would you both please separately state your full name for the record?
Cindy O'Blennis.
Thank you.
And Brian O'Blennis.
And Ms. O'Blennis, how do you spell Cindy for the record?
CYNDIE.
Thank you. The court reporter thanks you. Or me, because there are different spellings. Just like my name, it gets spelled many different ways, much to my mother's dismay. So, anyway, okay. Oh, there was no one else online. I don't think on this case, right? I know we kind of stopped it midstream a while ago. If there's anyone
Nope.
else attending, you didn't see anybody else, Joe? Okay.
No
All
one
right.
else raised their hand then or now.
Okay. So, Mr. and Mrs. O'Blennis, have you reviewed the staff report connected to the application? I do believe we have one of those that was published.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any objection to the admission of the administrative exhibits that are found on the final page of the report and number 1 through 9?
No.
No.
Exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. Joe, then when you're ready, if you want to do your PowerPoint presentation.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for giving me a few moments, and I'm sorry I forgot to prepare it.
You've had a rough week, Joe. We're going to forgive you.
Thank you. So this is a property at, I believe it's 6645 Brookside Road. It's in, of course, Brookside area of the city, is shown here. This is the property in yellow. It's on the east side of Brookside Road, which is just east of the trolley trail and Warnell Road. I purposely included the development case layer, which is all the green rectangles and triangles you see. These are almost all exclusively variance applications, so it gives you an idea of how common the requests are in this area of the city. This is an aerial view of the property. As you can see, the property is somewhat unique in that it has a curved front property line. So the front yard is actually going to be the one along 67th Street. You can see also that the house is located in the northern and eastern portions of the site. So the rear yard being on the north side and the side yard being on the east side. So the applicant is requesting to expand the house southward into the spot of an existing covered porch. And they're requesting, in order to do this, a variance in the amount of 3.5 feet. This would allow the expanded area to be set back 25 feet, 1.5 inches from the front property line. The requirement here is for the front yard setback is 25% of the lot depth or up to 30 feet. In this case, because of the lot depth, it is 29 feet is the applicable setback. And again, the setback they'd be providing with the proposed expansion is 25 feet and 1.5 inches. On this slide, you can see a rendering of the proposed building elevation. On the left-hand side over here is the existing covered porch. They are not expanding the footprint of the building in any way. They're just building into the area of the enclosed porch or the covered porch at the ground level and then upwards for the second level. They would be adding a small balcony as well, which is included in the request or in the total setback of 25 feet, 1.5 inches. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any question the board has.
And Joe, for 1 second, can you go back to the initial photograph of the house? Didn't you have one of those?
I'm sorry, I did not include one in here.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right. I'm just trying, I'm familiar with the street. I'm just trying to picture what that looks like exactly. So
It is,
yeah,
it is an L-shaped house. This elevation is accurate, except that currently both wings, I believe, are equal in length. And so they'd be expanding to add on to this eastern wing. And if we go back to the aerial, you can see here, I guess the eastern wing's slightly longer currently than the western one. But the only places that they could really add on and meet code is right in this area here, which you can see in the elevation is right where their front door is.
okay, all right. That helped me readjust where the house was. Thank you. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Oblenis, why do you need this addition?
Well, we just want to make sure that we have correct what we applied for, just in case I didn't make an error. Because we took over this project, we had a builder and that relationship fell through. And so I took this over and we had an architect too still helping us, but I intended to, I was trying to look at Compass real quick to make sure I did that, apply for 5.5 feet.
Instead of 3.5, that's in the report.
Yeah, it was 5.5. And then I added, because I didn't know if I had to put those two numbers together, 5.5 for the setback, and then 3 feet is the balcony. So I'd separated those. So I don't know if there was an error somewhere.
Let me just, Joe,
I can run the numbers.
Yeah, you have
verify.
Now let's just run it from the site plan so we have it accurate. So
Okay. Okay. We were trying to look up Compass real quick, and
no, it has to. I mean, if Joe has this, you have a site plan. I saw that, so we should be able to do it.
The required setback is 29 feet, so that is accurate. And then the measured setback which I measured, by the way, so this could be where if there is a discrepancy where it lies, is from the corner of the balcony. And I guess I can put my presentation back up so you can see what I'm pointing at.
Okay.
Bear with me a second for that.
Yeah, let's make sure we get it right because we don't want confusion.
So what I measured from was the corner of the balcony to the nearest point on the property line. And this was the point I found that was the nearest. And that is 25 feet, 1.5 inches. So 29 minus 25 feet, 1.5 inches. That's the variance amount you need.
Okay. Okay, as long as that's accurate, I'm.
So that's the 3.5 feet that's in the staff report, right?
It's going to be 3 feet. I'm sorry, that's 25 feet, 11.5 inches. So it should be 3 feet and 1/2 inch.
And 1/2 inch. Okay, 3 feet and 1/2 inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
okay. When you have a curve like that, it's confusing because you were probably measuring out like closer to the street on the far side. But we have to go from the closest angle. So
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
So the question was, why do we think this is necessary?
yes, and what you're going to use, what you proposing to do with the house, and what's this addition about? Yeah.
Okay. Well, we moved here in October from North River, and promptly afterwards, my mom got sick, and we realized that we don't have space for us when we get older to live on the main level. There's no full bath. There's no sleeping quarters on the main level. And so at that point, we kind of started this project thinking that will be a necessity. And at the same time, we were both working from home, and one of us in the dining room, one of us somewhere else. So we decided, if we're going to do this, let's go ahead and make some office space upstairs, which also allows us to have a larger master bathroom. It's very small compared to our other full bath upstairs. That's, I think, generally what we would, the necessity and the use.
And there's,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Oblanis.
I was just going to say, and there's, you can see from the plan, there's really there's no place to go for the house. We're up against the edges. So that within the existing footprint, but going up, closing that in and going up to a second floor.
And that faces the street and is along your driveway, correct?
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you discussed, I didn't see any opposition online today. Have you discussed this proposed addition with your neighbors? I know you won't have anything, in the front of the house because you're facing the trolley track, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, we've discussed it with a few neighbors, as many as we know from just being here a little while. And then we went to HOA. Joe's been very helpful, by the way. Glad to grant him some grace today. Went to the HOA because we realized we didn't understand we had to do that. So we do have their support, and they've given us some suggestions too with builders and such. So.
And that's Armor Hills, correct?
That's
Yeah.
Armor Hills.
Okay, yeah, all right.
It
Okay.
turns out we're within the build lines, but the problem is the build lines are square, the street is curved.
Right, we understand.
Yeah.
We understand. Okay.
A question,
Yeah,
Ms.
go ahead,
Otto.
Evan.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Oblenis, in your neighborhood HOA, up until maybe a half a year ago, there was a very active person who was pretty much opposed to most everything. So when you told me that you went before the HOA, I was curious whether there was a person there who was opposing your project.
No, when Joe told us, to reach out to our HOA, we actually went to the HOA meeting, which was that week. And we listened to a couple of the cases that actually came before you today. And then we sent them our plans, and they just sent us back.
The feedback from the president and the rest of the board was we don't need any variance from what's here. The board reviewed the plan and sort of signed off on it and said, you don't need our process. So there was no.
So no, I guess.
There was no meeting on our house at the board level.
I'm telling you that if you would have done this a year ago, it'd probably be totally different.
We
might be living in their house. We don't know.
We heard some of the mythology around that.
Hey, folks.
And they do have new leadership in their neighborhood association.
And folks, try not to talk at the same time because Michelle is having a hard time. Please let one. Yeah, this is being recorded by a court reporter. Sorry, I have to lecture. That's my job because she can't do that. So, okay. All right. Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, in case number 41, I recommend the applicant be granted the request in accordance with site plan and staff report.
I have a motion from Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
did we need to re-quantify the variance to 3 feet, 1/2 inch?
What did the staff report say? And I'm sorry, that is a good point of order, Mr. Stiller. Let me see what the staff report says again.
It already says that.
It does, okay. Yeah, it does
Okay.
say that. Okay, then we're good. Okay, so then I can entertain a second to that motion.
Thank you, and I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request has been granted. Welcome to Kansas City as proper, and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go on to docket 14. Case number 58. The address is 125 East Linwood Boulevard. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as any parties here today in opposition or support to this request?
Madam Chair, I promoted Toby Williams.
Okay, and Mr. Williams, I see you. Are you here in support, opposition, or you're the applicant? I apologize.
Yeah, the applicant.
Gotcha. Is there anyone else being promoted? Is that it, Joe?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Williams, would you raise your hand then to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Would you state your name for the record?
Toby Williams.
And you're the property owner, correct? Or the applicant?
So I'm the applicant. We're the civil engineer on the project that is submitting the project on the applicant's behalf.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
And
Williams.
owner's behalf, sorry.
No, that's fine. Have you reviewed the staff report?
Yes, I have.
Do you have any objection to my admission of exhibits 1 through 9 listed in the staff report?
No, I have no objections.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 9 will be admitted. And Shu, I think this is your case. Would you do your presentation? Your mic is off.
There we go. Yep. I shared presentation.
Okay.
This case in front of you is a special use permit application on the Linwood Boulevard. Here's the general location of the subject site. More specifically, it's located on the south side of Linwood Boulevard and the west side of Main Street. It is located outside of the Main Street overlay. It is currently zoned UR with an approved urban redevelopment plan. Currently, there is a private drive located on the east side of the subject site. And across the private drive is Costco with Costco's parking lot. And directly to the south of the subject site is the Home Depot, also zoned UR. To the west of the subject site is a drive-through facility. On the other side of Linwood Boulevard, it is zoned B3-2 for businesses, and there are drive-through businesses. Here's the view looking south from Linwood Boulevard at the subject site. Located on your left hand is the private drive. As you can see, currently the subject site is undeveloped. Here's the view looking north from Linwood Boulevard. That's another drive-through facility, as I mentioned. This is the site plan provided by the applicant. The applicant proposes an entryway for both ingress and egress from Linwood Boulevard. And the reason you're seeing the special use permit is because a drive-through facility located adjacent to and within 150 feet of a boulevard or parkway requires a special use permit for such use. The applicant proposes parking to the west and the south side of the drive-through lanes, and there will be one drive-through line with a bypass lane. The service window will be located to the east side of the building. The building will have a porch for outdoor dining spaces located on the west side of the building. There's a landscape plan provided by the applicant. The applicant proposes to connect the pedestrian sidewalk from Linwood Boulevard all the way across the vehicular access into the building. These are the elevations provided by the applicant. The majority of the building is an earth tone and a gray tone. There are masonry and panel sidings. Staff recommended approval with conditions. City Planning Commission also recommended approval with conditions as stated in the staff report. That shall conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Cheryl. Mr. Williams, my first question is the conditions that have been outlined in the report. Is your client agreeable to those conditions?
Yes, they are. I've explained that they're fairly boilerplate conditions that I'm used to seeing and explain that to them. And so they're in acceptance of those conditions.
Okay. And Shu, this is there's no variance, correct?
As my knowledge.
Okay.
There is one.
Oh, there's one, because did I miss that?
Just for the drive access, we're exceeding the minimum drive maneuverability because of the kind of the long story short, this was approved a year ago with a different configuration. And we learned after signing a contract with our client that Costco and Home Depot were not consulted regarding their CCNRs. And they did not allow the 2 drives and the reduced parking that was shown in the previous approved special use permit. So we're coming back through the process to adhere to those guidelines of their restrictions. So to do that, we're, with this one access that we have, we can't push the building forward because we need to need to circulate around the site. Therefore, we have the vehicular maneuver drive that abuts the boulevard, which exceeds the minimum. But that's the only variance we're requesting.
Shu, did you talk about that or did I miss that?
I did not talk about that.
I didn't think so. I didn't think I missed that, but I'm just checking.
No, I did not talk about that. You did not miss them. I believe it's either not listed on the site plan, or I just missed it, or it has been approved with the PASTA application. I'm not sure which one it is. So Mr. Williams, can you tell exactly what variance you're requesting here? I'm going to
Sure.
share the site plan.
Sure, I think this is an older version. It's not the latest version. That might be why, the site plan itself.
Oh, so, but this is the version I have.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we need a copy. Do you have a copy, Mr. Williams, that you can share with us? Because
I do.
Okay.
I do, yes.
So what exhibit would that be, Shu? Or
Number 10.
10, okay. Why don't we mark the up-to-date site plan as exhibit 10, and board members keep that reference in mind for any motion, because it would need to comply with exhibit 10, not the site, not the plan that's been admitted already.
I think the only subtle difference is that when consulting with the pedestrian right-of-way and accessibility consultant, they wanted us to move the access for the pedestrian access to the site to the east side of the drive, and then we listed the variance. That was the only 2 differences we had.
Okay, if you can share that, and then we'll take a look at it.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to admit this as exhibit 10, is that correct? Okay.
Let's see. It's this one. This one. Yes.
And then, Mr. Williams, you'll just need to email a copy of this to Shu.
Sure, no problem. So
Okay.
can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Shu, can
So-
you see that?
So the difference was that we requested to change this accessibility so that we wouldn't have to cross the active drive here. That we would move it to the east side to access directly to the sidewalk to a more direct route. The idea being that we didn't want someone to have to backtrack and come around here. So traffic coming this way could come directly into the building. Traffic this way could come directly towards the entrance of the building. So that was the major change. And then we added the frontage here, and then the variance request box down here, which was basically,
Okay, and what can you blow that up a little bit? Yeah.
yeah. So that's our request. And like I stated, this is solely based on having one access. We're really stuck. We met with Jeffrey Williams, and there was some opposition to having another exit here, which was actually approved on the previous version of the SUP. But based on the traffic study being so close to this private drive, it created a traffic problem. And our only alternative was to kind of loop around the building to get back to the single egress to the site, which then prompted the variance request.
Because the entrance, there is the entrance into Home Depot and Costco, right?
Yes, correct. Now
That-
has a lot of
that's very
traffic.
busy. Yes,
Yeah,
it-
yes.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, and then unbeknownst to us, we had actually, been contracted by the property owner to just take that approved SUP last year and just go straight into construction drawings. And like I mentioned, when we went to Costco and Home Depot for their blessing, they said, wow, we can't do this. So we started over, the building got smaller, we added parking spaces, and then we were left with this one access because they would not approve this access along with transportation, not improving access. So we had both entities not wanting us to have that second access over here, which at that time the building was pushed all the way forward to the right of way, and you kind of just looped through the drive-through and out. But we were left with not being able to have that second access, which then forced us to go around the building and utilize this one egress.
Right. And Shu, so what should the variance be for the board members to consider today? And have we advertised enough so that we can handle this issue?
I need to understand, how did your variance how did you calculate it, your parking that increased from 30% to 90%?
So it's what it is the frontage along the boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows for 30%. So we took this property line to property line,
mm-hmm.
and then we took that distance, and then we took this distance of the actual parking linear area. We divided that distance from the overall frontage to get our distance that fronts the boulevard.
Okay.
Of our parking maneuverability.
Shu, I'm doing some research here on the back on my side of things just to try to help you out. I'm not certain, Madam Chair, that they would really need a variance for this because
there's no
the
parking
code,
in the curb, right?
Right. And the code uses vehicular use area pretty consistently when it talks about drive-throughs, drive lanes, driveways, and parking areas. But in the boulevard and parkway standards, which are is the variance that Mr. Williams is suggesting they might need from that section of the code, it specifically states surface parking,
right, and you don't
instead
have
of vehicular use area, and they don't have any there.
Right.
And in addition to that, we have use standards for drive-through restaurants along boulevards and parkways. And those standards indicate to me that it expects there to be drive-through lanes adjacent to the boulevard. So I'm pretty sure that the intent of the boulevard standards were really just to not prohibit the situation shown here, but prohibit a provision of parking spaces between the building and the street, or to minimize it.
Okay, and because we have parking to the side and to the rear of the building.
Right.
On this. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
staff
behind the setback.
Yeah. If staff is comfortable, I mean, the board and if our legal counsel doesn't have any concerns for us, I guess, then I think this is just a conditional use permit, correct?
Yeah, special use permit.
I'm sorry, special, not conditional. I'm sorry, special. My apologies.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. Board members, do you have questions about the new plan and the questions that have been raised? Okay.
Mr. Williams, Mark Evans here. The only question I have is, I go by Taco Bell every now and then, and that line stretches out to the street.
Right.
And they've got two, they got an entry point and an exit point. I just see things kind of pandemonium for you, and maybe that's a good thing, but I'm just friendly comment.
No, I think this was addressed in our initial planning staff comments as well, with the traffic study that we got. So we did do a traffic study, and we have such a long queue line and outline. I think that, and Dunkin' Donuts is so fast. I think we kind of minimize that with the long queue line and the double line, so that we can just get people out, because we're going to have a lot of people queuing, but then we have the long line out to get people out of there. So, I think we addressed that. But more importantly, the major issue would have been if we would have tried to exit over on the east side here with people queuing for this traffic light, then we'd be pushing people directly into it. So at least we're giving ourselves some space, and that's kind of what our intention was with the restrictions that were in place. We tried to do the best we could with it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I hear your concern, Mark, but I guess, the donuts get made early in the morning and they're not having to special make them, right? Like the hamburgers or the chicken sandwiches or whatever it is. So, okay. All right. Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Williams, would you stop sharing your screen, please?
Sure.
And email Shu that, please.
You bet.
Madam Chair, in case number 58, I recommend that the applicant's request be granted in accordance with the and the site plan that has been Exhibit 10 today.
I have a motion from Mr. Banuki. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Stiller. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request is granted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next case, which is docket item 15, case number 95. The address is 9615 Grand View Road. Is the applicant present? If so, please raise your hand to be promoted.
I believe the applicant is not in this meeting. The applicant requested enough continuance because the request for rezoning to MPD, which is a companion case to resolve this problem, is under revision before it goes to city planning, before it goes to city council for hearing. So staff recommends a continuance to June, to our June meeting without fee.
Okay. So there's no one online on this case, correct? Okay.
I believe so.
Does the board understand? And then we have a quorum on this case, board members. So I need a motion from Mr. Banuki, Mr. Ebbets, Mr. Stiller, or Ms. Mixdorf. Mr. Kelleher's not here today, but we do have a quorum still. Or actually, I guess Ms. Mixdorf, you wouldn't be in the mix. Mr. Kelleher, who's ever after Mr. Kelleher, so one of you has heard this, but not everybody heard it. Does that make sense? You're not a part of the official quorum. I apologize. All right. Do I have a motion to continue this matter to June 8th?
So moved.
I have a motion for Mr. Banuki. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second for Mr. Ebbets. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to June 8th without fee. And then let's take 16, which sounds like there's a continuance on this one as well, which is docket number 25. The address is 8729 Blue Ridge Boulevard. Is the applicant present on this case? Shu, do you have this case as well?
No, I believe Joe has it.
Oh, Joe does. Okay. Joe, are you there?
I'm here. Yes, I'm here. This case, we need to continue this one as well for the similar reasons to the last one, because it has not yet gone to Planning Commission.
Okay.
So we're requesting continuance to May 11th without fee.
Okay, so this one, well, I asked the question is if the top one is related to, if the one at 15 is related to this one, should they be to the same date?
They're not related.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she said that they were related. That was my misunderstanding. I apologize. Okay, my bad. All right, folks on the board, do I have a continuance on this case until May 11th without a fee?
So moved.
I have a motion for Mr. Ebbets. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second for Mr. Banuki. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued until May 11th without fee. Okay, then let's move to docket number 17, case number 6, with an address of 1221 East Meyer Boulevard. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted? Is Mr. Weiniger here?
I just promoted him and Ashley Pavlu.
Pavlu, okay, yes. Mr. Weiniger, Ms. Pavlu, could you please turn on your cameras and your microphones? Okay, and I apologize, Mr. Pavlu, I didn't realize the names threw me. I apologize. My bad. All right, folks, would you please raise your right hands to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I'm sorry, did you say I do, Mr. Pavlou? I didn't hear you.
I do.
Okay, sorry, you're really faint. It might be your headset. I don't know how close you are to your speaker.
Could be. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's
I do.
the court reporter will really hate you and I if she can't hear you. So I thank you for your cooperation. Gentlemen, would you state your name for the record and tell me your association with the case?
Kevin Weiniger with Gastinger Walker Architects. We are the architect on the project.
Okay, Mr. Pavlou.
Ashley Pavlou with McCown Gordon Construction. We're the CM or construction manager for the project.
Okay. Is there anyone else online interested in this case?
We have two others, Brett Sells and Jamie Berry, that may or may not need to speak during the call.
Well, let's promote them. Joe, can you, I see Ms. Berry and I see Mr. Sells.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and promote them.
It might be Mr. I am doing poorly today on first names, so maybe I should just wait till I see their faces before I designate a gender. I guessed right with Ms. Berry. Okay, all right. Ms. Berry and Mr. Sells, I'm going to swear you in and have you identify yourself in case we need to have you speak and then you're prepared to go. So would you please raise your right hands? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
And would each of you state your full name for the court reporter, please?
My name is Jamie, Jamie Berry, Berry.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sells?
This is Brenton Sells with Talaferro and Brown.
All right. Folks, have you reviewed the staff report connected with this special use permit application?
Yes.
Okay. Any objection to the admission of the 12 administrative exhibits found on page 4 of the staff report?
No.
Okay. And Zach, you're the planner on this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to present and then we'll hear from Mr. Weiniger and crew?
Sure.
All right, so this next case is a request for a special use permit to allow for expansion of a public and civic use, in this case, a high school in an R5 zoning district. So this is located down in South KC. A little more specifically, this is Hogan Prep. It's just south of East Meyer Boulevard, just north of 65th Street. For a little more context, there's an Aldi's grocery store to the west, and then there's a Franciscan convent to the east. And the existing high school, it's kind of an L shape with access off of East Meyer Boulevard and also off of 65th Street. Although the 65th Street access is currently blocked to the best of my knowledge. There's a sports field to the east as well. Just for a little more context, this is looking 3D view, looking to the north at the existing school, and this is looking at the south, just a little more perspective of the size of the current school. So the applicants are proposing to construct a new high school building, and this will be located to the east of the existing building. It'll be just under 40,000 square feet. It also shows new parking to the east of the new building with the new drive access here. The school will continue to use and occupy the gym of the existing building. The remainder of the existing building will be unoccupied and decommissioned, and then a future phase will demo the existing building and a new gym will be built sometime in the future. In terms of landscaping, there are new trees that are proposed along the east side of the parking lot, and then new mulch and new grass is also proposed to be planted as well. And then in terms of the building elevations and the materials itself, the building will primarily be metal panels with a lot of glass as well. This top elevation here will be facing Meyer Boulevard, which is identified as a boulevard on the, so that the parkway and boulevard standards do apply to this project. So this complies with the transparency requirements of the boulevard parkway standards. And there's also a large wall sign as well. So just very quickly, a couple of renderings to give you a better perspective on what the building will look like. This is kind of off of East Meyer Boulevard. This will kind of be what is considered the front of the school. And then another rendering as well, just a little more perspective of the size. And then there are two variances that are required as well. The first is to the square footage of that wall sign I showed you. A maximum of 20 square feet is allowed for institutional uses. The wall sign is proposed to be 100 square feet, so a variance to the amount of 80 square feet is being requested. And then the second one is a variance to the building height in the R5 zoning. The maximum height is 35 feet, and the proposed building will be 39 feet. The variance in the amount of 4 feet is being requested. And then the next two slides I have are exhibits that have not been admitted yet. So I don't know if you want to speak to those, if you want me to pull those up yet or not. They were submitted from the Franciscan convent just to the northeast.
Are they support or opposition letters?
So they were previously in opposition at CPC. However, the applicant has met with the convent and they are now in support. They were able to meet and discuss and come to an agreement regarding some of the issues that were previously discussed at CPC.
Okay. Mr. Wassinger, are these notarized letters? Zach, what are they?
Would you like me to pull it up?
Well, what I want to know is if they're notarized or not first before you
Okay. No, they don't appear to be notarized.
All right, Mr. Wassinger, our rules are is that we don't admit letters that are not notarized unless, of course, you're not going to object to that. I might consider that in this case, since I don't believe they're present and there's been some past opposition. What's your position?
I believe the one from the Franciscan Sisters is notarized.
Oh, it is? Okay.
That's true.
Okay, then I would admit that one.
Okay.
So that's, if you could just show that one. So this will be exhibit, is this 13, Zach and Sarah?
Yes, 13.
Okay. Okay, exhibit 13 will be admitted. All right.
Yeah, so just very briefly, at CPC, there were some concerns regarding privacy and the need for, or the desire for a fence along the east property line to kind of separate the two uses a little bit more. And so that was what was discussed, and it was recommended by CPC that the two groups get together and kind of discuss that in greater detail. And so it sounds like that's happened, and they are now in support of that. So that's basically the summary of that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I won't go through all this, but staff has reviewed this against the special use permit criteria and believes that it complies with all the special use characteristics. And this went to CPC, and they recommended approval subject to 29 conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Zach. Mr. Wassinger, are you taking the lead on presenting, or is Mr. Pavlou?
It would be me.
Okay. I don't want to short circuit this, but I want to ask you a couple questions. One of my concerns is the size of the sign on the side of the building, and why it needs to be as large as it is.
It's providing, well, one, branding and an acknowledgement of the importance of the site in the city. So it sits high in elevation around in the surrounding context, and I think Hogan wants to have their new building have a presence, and so their logo, which is shown on that elevation, is what we're requesting to be larger than what's allowed. I think in the overall view of the building from Meyer, I think the building sets back quite far, over 300 feet from Meyer. So I think the signage will not be right on the street, which is, I think, primarily the intent of some of the signage standards, is to avoid large signs right on the edge of a sidewalk or being too large at the street level.
And what's the square foot on the side of the building that this is on?
The overall square footage of the facade,
Yes.
it's probably roughly 900 to 1,000 square feet.
Okay, so this would be about,
It's 100 square feet.
yeah,
is the-
yeah, so it'd be about an eighth of it.
yeah.
Okay.
And it looks like it's a perforated material as well, so it won't be completely blocking the glazing.
That's correct. Yeah.
And my memory is that institution does sit on the hill. I'm remembering that as I think about it. And this is really all business district at that area because it faces down toward the Paseo, correct? No, 63rd. 63rd Street, right? And Meyer.
Meyer, it's
Okay.
it's on Meyer. So I mean it's the start. I mean that section of the parkway is very on the Hogan side is very parkway like because their neighbor is the Franciscan Sisters and it's very green and planted as
Okay.
the parkway is intended to be.
Thank you for bringing that back up, Zach. That helps. Once you're thinking about it, trying to think driving by there, what it looks like. Okay. And Mr. Woniger, again, talk to us about this expansion. What purposes will it serve for the school?
So it's replacing the existing high school.
Okay, completely.
Yes, the existing building went through an extensive facility assessment, trying to make use of it and reuse it. But the state of repair that is in was not cost effective. So the decision was to build a new building. And as Zach mentioned, there's kind of a phased approach to the overall site usage and development. So this high school is the first phase. The next phase will be to demolish the existing building and build a new gymnasium.
Okay. And the only opposition you had was from the sisters, from the Franciscan Sisters.
Correct.
They've withdrawn that.
Correct. Yeah, we had a neighborhood meeting and very positive responses, which is all documented I believe in your staff report or at least for CPC.
And this will be a private institution going forward still, school? No, public. That's why I'm asking. So this is
They're a charter, yeah.
It's a public charter school.
Yeah.
It is. That's what I thought, because it used to be private, correct? That's what I was trying to understand.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it converted in 1999
Okay, that's
to
what
a charter school.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Berry. I couldn't remember. Yeah. All right. And is there any opposition to the conditions placed on the applicant by the CPC? Are you familiar with the conditions?
Is that a question for us?
Yes, for you.
Oh,
Yes.
oh yeah.
For representing the applicant.
Yeah. Yes. No. We have no opposition.
Okay, because there were 29 conditions.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Board members, questions for the applicant? Okay, I hear none. Then I would entertain a motion on this case.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Stiller.
I would move that the board grant the request in accordance with the staff report, site plan, and the 29 conditions from the City Plan Commission.
I have a motion for Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second for Mr. Branucci. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. The request is granted. Thank you, folks, for participating today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Otto, I need to recuse off the next case, so Randy's in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ebbets. All right, let's move to the next case, which is docket 18, case number 12 with an address. Oh, sorry, my computer is very slow all of a sudden. It doesn't like all these big blueprints. 1 minute. All right, with an address of 4100 North Briarcliff Road. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted? As well as any other parties that are here to either support or oppose this request for a special use permit.
Madam Chair, I've promoted Greg Nelson and David Contag.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson and Mr. Contag, could you please turn on your cameras and your microphones? I can see you both. Mr. Contag, your microphone is still off. Okay, gentlemen, would you raise your right hands to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Could you state your names and tell us your affiliation with the case?
I'm Greg Nelson with MKEC Engineering, and we're the civil engineer on the design project.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Contag?
David Contag with DLR Group. We are the architects, and I am serving as the landscape architect for the project.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, have you reviewed the staff report that is been prepared on this request? And do you have any objection to the admission of exhibits 1 through 12 listed on page 4 of that report?
I've reviewed it and have no objections.
Okay, exhibits 1 through 12 will be admitted. And Zach, I think you have a presentation. Let's hear from you first.
Just a moment. Okay, so similar to the last case we just heard, this is also a request for a special use permit to allow for an expansion of a public and civic use, in this case, Briarcliff Elementary School. So as the name would suggest, this is in Briarcliff. More specifically, this is the school is located just east of Briarcliff Road. And in terms of some of the surrounding land uses, there's primarily single-family residential to the north and to the west. And then Briarcliff Park is to the east, which is a heavily wooded area. And then zooming in just a little bit, at the school campus itself, the building is west facing with parking in the front and then also to the side on the north. And then there's a large walking trail that surrounds the school itself. There's also several paths that lead off into the neighborhoods as well. So the applicant is proposing to construct an addition on the east side of the existing building. It'll be approximately 10,000 square feet. And then as well, there's going to be some new kind of upgrades in terms of access. The applicant is proposing to shift this drive in the gray here slightly to the north so that it lines up with the middle of this parking lot here. It currently lines up with the bottom part, the southern portion of the parking lot. And so this will just allow for better access and will allow for better bus pickup and drop off. There's a playground area to the east as well. And then there's also a new detention area on the far east side of the site as well. So the addition itself will allow for a new gym and several new classrooms. So in terms of landscaping, there's not a lot proposed, but there's some new landscaping proposed in the front, and then some screening along the trash enclosures. And then there's also a large green area turf to be planted, which will serve as kind of like an outdoor classroom space. And then very briefly, I just want to show the floor plan as well. Again, I mentioned the gym and then some music classrooms and some other spaces as well. In terms of building elevations, the building will be primarily precast concrete. Just gives you kind of an idea of what it will look like. And then here's the gym as well. So there are 2 variances that are being requested for this case as well. The first is short-term bicycle spaces. A minimum of 58 spaces are required, 1 per 7 students. 20 spaces are proposed, so a variance in the amount of 38 spaces is being requested. And then the second is long-term bicycle spaces. Minimum of 12 is required. 0 long-term spaces are proposed, and so 12 spaces are being requested for that as well. So staff has reviewed the special use permit criteria for this as well and believes it to be in conformance with all of the criteria. And then this went to CPC last week, I believe, and they recommended approval subject to 14 conditions. And so that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Zach. Mr. Nelson, Mr. Contag, why do you believe we should approve this?
Well, this is an addition to the school. One of the things it's going to provide would be a storm shelter. The gym will be constructed to standards that would provide storm shelter. So mainly it's an amenity to the school. Additional classrooms, there's going to be a SPED classroom and an additional music room, and then the gym. And also at the front of the school, currently the entrance, there's going to be security improvements there. Currently the entrance, you have to step up steps to get inside the building. Actually, there are steps up to the main level. So the only ADA access currently is coming in from the north side of the building to get onto the main level. These improvements will add a ramp and bring the level up on the exterior of the building. And then there will be a new entrance into the building so that you'll be coming in at the main level of the existing building. So those are the improvements that are going to be made. Also, the other improvements there is that we're going to be separating the bus pickup areas from the pickup for parents' cars, which currently is along the front loop there. It will continue to be that. Currently, the buses pick up at the very north end in the kind of the small area there of the drive that exits directly to Briarcliff Road. So now we're going to transfer that back to an area that will serve actually as a dual purpose playground area. And then it will be the bus pickup and drop off area in morning and evening when the playground areas would not be in use.
Greg, if I can add to that, the bus loop area also will have about, I don't have the exact quantity here, but about 25 cars for overflow parking for staff. For major events that occur at the school, there will be parking in the back as well. That entire play area is existing, but it will be redeveloped in a heavy-duty pavement for the buses, and then serve the dual purpose for bus drop and pickup, which effectively separates car and bus traffic, which will be a welcome improvement for the school. And in addition, still providing all of the court games and then overflow parking for staff. I did want to mention too, on the bicycle parking requirement, Greg and I coordinated with the school district, and currently at this location, they don't have the amount of bicycle traffic that is being required in per code. And we're requesting that variance at the district's request. We're actually providing more than 20 spaces. We are providing 24 spaces in the front of the school. And in the future, we would offer that and the district would offer too, if additional bike parking is necessary, the difference or the additional 20 or 24 spaces would be provided up to a max of 58 spaces based on need.
Are you saying that you're proposing 24 spaces, not 20 spaces?
So Greg, I'm not sure what included in the plans, but our current documents have 24 spaces.
Okay, because I thought the variance said you were proposing 20. So if that's the case, we should change the variance request, correct, Zach? Is that correct, Zach?
Yeah, sorry. The plan stated 20 spaces, but if it's 24, then we can adjust the variance amount.
Okay, so let's do that. So that would take it down to 34, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, board members, did you get that? Okay. And then gentlemen, is there any objection to the conditions placed by the CPC? The 14, I think it's 14 conditions.
No.
Okay. All right, board members, questions?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Stiller.
And I thank you for addressing in advance the bicycle request, which was of a concern to me. And I understand it makes sense to provide 24, excuse me, and then see what the demand is like over time. But I do, and I'm just one board member, but I have a problem with taking the long term, which might actually be used by a teacher, down to 0. With 0, then there's no way to really measure demand other than somebody verbalizing that I might ride a bike here if I could have a little cover on it or some sort of a long term. So down to 0 is a problem with me.
So with regard to the parking inside, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but during conversations with the district, they are committed to providing indoor space and available space inside for any staff or teachers that would utilize the long-term parking. Currently, they don't have any staff or teachers that do the parking, but if there is, they're committed to providing that on the inside in terms of square footage for that use.
Very good.
Yeah, Mr. Stiller, I just add that we kind of had conversations subsequent to our neighborhood meeting when that subject was brought up. And the conversations with the district is what David stated there, that they'd be more than willing to allow, spaces. What we've done actually, this has come up at other schools within the North Kansas City District. They're doing several projects right now. And when this subject does come up before, they said that they're more than willing to allow the teachers to park the bikes in their classrooms if needed. So, and if there was any other staff members that they would provide a space for them. So.
Very good. That might actually even provide a little bit of an educational opportunity where young people can see that there are viable alternates to standard transportation of a vehicle, a car. So, okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Hearing no further questions, I would entertain a motion just reminding the board members of the change in variance number for the short-term bicycle parking variance.
Madam Chair, call for
Yes,
a motion.
Stiller, go ahead.
I would move that the board grant the request in accordance with the site plan and staff report with a variation to the variance request on the short-term bicycle spaces to 24.
So the variance is 34, correct?
A variance of 34, allowing for 24. Yes, thank you.
Yep. I have a motion for Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Banuki. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This request is granted. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have 3 more cases. All right, so let's move on to docket 19, case 57, with an address of 2723 Holmes. Would the applicant please raise their hand to be promoted, as well as anyone here in support or opposition to this matter?
I'm promoting Jasper Malarney, Caleb Dermeyer, and that's it so far. That's raised their hand.
Okay. Mr. Is it Molarney?
Yes, Malarney.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
And what is your association with this case?
So I live directly behind the property and have for almost 14 years now. I'm in opposition. I have a letter in the file.
Okay. Okay, sit tight. I want to, okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Dermeyer, can you turn on your camera and your, what is your association with the case?
I'm a neighbor. I'm in opposition of this particular Airbnb.
And that's what I was afraid of because I didn't see the applicant come on board. Is Mr. Murdick here? If you are.
There is a Mark Murdick. He hasn't raised his hand. I can promote him.
Could you promote him? That has to be him. Or no, I'm sorry. That's the next case. I apologize. My bad. I'm sorry. Is Matthew Mose, is it Mosetick? Matthew Mosetick, are you present?
I do not see him, Madam Chair. There's also a applicant I've been dealing with. They emailed me not too long ago, so I'm not quite sure where they are.
Yeah, the owner appears to be B&R Residential LLC and Matthew Mosetick. Is it Mosetick, I think? And the applicant is Joe Peroni Hauser and Alex Olson.
Yes, I do not see them on. I do not see them on the case, to be honest with you. I'm not sure where they are.
Okay. And this was set for the 2:30 docket and we're to 4 o'clock, right? So has this case ever been continued before?
At the CPC level it was, but I don't believe it was at the BZA level.
Okay. And the applicant's been active in pursuing this with you up until today?
Yes, I sent Joseph a email just to confirm the BZA link for today's meeting, and they responded with a reply.
Well, I think.
No, I'm sorry. That email came from Mr. Malarney. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
My two J names confused my head. Sorry.
Since this case has never been continued once, we hate to dismiss it without giving someone at least a second chance. So, gentlemen, I mean, we're well past the 2:30 timeframe to start this case, but since it's not been continued before, I would think the board will continue this at least once. Our next meeting would be in May, on May 11th, and that's what we would probably continue it to and ask you to come back at that time. Okay. Do I have a motion from the board to continue this matter until May 11th?
So
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Banuki. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to May 11th. Gentlemen, thank you for waiting all afternoon. I apologize, but this sometimes happens. So we'll see you in May. All right. Let's move to the next case, which is case docket number 20, case number 48. The address is 4305 North Antioch Road. Would the applicant please, we were ready promoted, Mr. Murdick, didn't we? Sorry, I was not looking right. Okay, I see Mr. Murdick. Is there anyone else present online that needs to be promoted?
I've promoted, excuse me, I've promoted a couple people. I've now lost their names. I apologize.
I see,
John Rowe was one of them, and Jason Meyer.
I see Mr. Meyer, and I see Mr. Rowe just popping on his. I haven't seen his camera yet.
And Samir Vishnani is being promoted right now.
Okay, we'll just figure out who everybody is. Okay. Okay, I think everybody's on. Gentlemen, if you could turn on your camera and your microphones, and just first of all, I want to know who everybody's is, and then I'll swear people in, and I'll ask you to state your name on the record, but I want to know who people are so we know what we're doing. Mr. Murdick, are you here for the applicant?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Rowe, who are you here for today?
Yes, I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Madam Chair.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm the attorney for the applicant. Mr. Murdoch's with the architectural firm that's worked on the plan that we're going to talk about.
Okay, do you know all of the other gentlemen who have then, is Mr. Meyer, are you also with the applicant?
Yes, yes, Mr. Meyer is the landscape architect who did the landscape plan on the plan that we're going to talk about.
And what about Mr., was it Vamir? I don't see, oh, there, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Vasani, I apologize, Mr.
Yes, Samir Vishnani is the principal of Mickey Holdings, which is the owner of the property. That's the subject of the application.
Okay.
And also the principal of Groceries for Less, which would be the operator of the, the convenience store there. So
okay.
He's who I represent, Madam Chair.
Okay, so everyone is connected with the applicant. Is that fair, Mr. Rowe?
Of the names, if there are other names,
Nope, that's it. That is all we have.
then those folks are all on my team, so to speak.
Okay, all right. Everyone, all four of you gentlemen, if you please raise your right hand, I will issue the oath and then we'll have you state your names on the record. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Mr. Rowe, I'll let you direct traffic. If you could state your name and introduce everyone else, please, from your team.
Yes, for the record, my name is John Rowe. I'm an attorney with the Rowe Law Firm, and my address is 4444 North Bellevue. And obviously, I have been sworn. I represent the applicant here, and the applicant is represented, as I mentioned, by Mr. Samir Vishnani. He is the principal of the entity Mickey Holdings LLC, which owns the property, and he's also the principal of Groceries for Less, which would be the tenant or operator at the property. And with us today to help us with the presentation are Mr. Mark Murdoch, who's with Sullivan Palmer architect firm, and Jason Meyer, who's with Meyer Landscape, and he prepared the landscape plan.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Mr. Rowe, have you reviewed the staff report connected with your client's application today? And do you have any objection to the admission of the administrative exhibits?
I do as to one, Madam Chair. So I guess for the record, administrative exhibits 1 through 6, no objection.
Okay.
Do have an objection to exhibit 7, which is the staff report, to the extent that there are some statements in the staff report that are incorrect. And I'm guessing that they're just oversights, but I don't want to have a record that says I had no objection to an exhibit that has incorrect statements in it. So
understood.
I'll come back to that. So number 8, no objection. Number 9, obviously I haven't seen the PowerPoint presentation. I don't anticipate an objection, but if I could wait and see what that is, reserve the right to make an objection to that. And then no objection to number 11.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to do, Mr. Rowe. I'm going to admit the 11 exhibits, and I'm going to hold 7 and
if it's your
9 and 9. I'm admitting all 11, but if you have objections to 7 and 9 that you need to point out, then you can do that after we give you the floor. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good, Madam Chair.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
You will be admitting, I have number 11 in bold, and that was the exhibit I sent to you. So that
yes, no, that's been admitted. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So Olafur, let's hear from you, and then we'll hear from Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wait for my PowerPoint to load.
Olafur, congratulations to your son as he goes pro.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Can you see my
we can.
screen?
Yes, Olafur, we can.
Okay. All right, that looks better. So this next case, Madam Chair, is located at 4305 North Antioch. Again, it's in the Northland where my arrow is pointing. More specifically at the southeast corner of North Antioch Road and I-35. This is the site. Currently on the site is Discount Smokes and Liquor, and that's what the site looks like. This is a view of the site from North Antioch looking east, and this is a view, the lower picture is a view of the site looking north from northeast 43rd Street.
Well, if we only see just your sign that says, we don't see what you're not moving down.
Okay, hang on. I may have to stop and then reshare.
I think your screen was frozen.
Yep.
I have to say that we had, very few technical difficulties during this Zoom timeframe we've been doing for now almost for a year, right?
Is it working now?
Yes. We see the picture of the building.
Okay. So again, this is the building. This is a front of the building looking east on North Antioch, the top picture, and the lower picture is a side of the building looking north on Northeast 43rd Street. Again, this is the building located where I say, and then to the east of the building are 3 hotels and an existing building that's being rezoned and repurposed for future use as residential. And this is a view of the site looking east with our Best Western Hotel to the south of the site, and then an existing 7-Eleven with additional commercial just on the west side of Antioch. Just a quick background. This site was approved back in 2011 to allow for vehicular sales. And in 2018, the city Plan Commission denied a request for gasoline and fuel sale at this site. Recent action that's occurred along this site, again, the parcel to the east of this site was rezoned, a 5-acre parcel. All 3 hotels were rezoned to allow for a development of what is Brookwood at Antioch, and that's to allow for 66 residential unit. And also in 2020, the City Council also approved the PIA plan that allowed for the redevelopment of that site to allow for residential use. And the reason I bring this forward is that this is a policy action taken in 2020 by City Council that has an effect on what recommendation staff made. Again, this is the site, and this is the site of the existing hotel, the 5-acre that I showed. This is an old picture from 2008 that shows that there was a gas station, and the location of that canopy used to be a Sinclair gas station at this location. Again, this is what the canopy used to look like, and it was along Antioch. Again, the current zoning is B2-2, and the request before you is for special use permit to allow for gasoline and fuel sales. Again, the request is to put an addition of about 2380 square feet to the existing building, which will go, the footprint of the existing building is in blue, and then the addition will expand the existing building. And then also put an addition of 3,000 square feet canopy with 4 islands, which is 8 pumps on the north with about 25 parking spaces. Initial approval and initial request included a drive-through facility, but as staff's recommendation, the applicant to remove that drive-through facility. So it's just now an expansion of the existing convenience store and then a new canopy. One of the requests staff also made that's been changed was that we wanted additional windows on this site, but in the next slide, you'll see that the glass and the visibility from inside the store has been expanded by expanding the number of glass provided. So they've given me additional 2 panels instead of windows on this wall. So the request again is to add a canopy with 4 fuel pumps and then expand the building. At City Plan Commission, city staff had recommended, or city staff did recommend denial. And the reason for the denial was, again, the policy direction that I stated, that the city council approving a redevelopment effort and granting a PIA plan, which, identify blight and also giving incentive to the land, and then approving the use of that hotel to be residential, 66 residential unit, was one of the reasons that staff does not support that. They support the additional use of a gas canopy just adjacent to the recently approved residential uses. So that's the location of the fuel pump will have that direct effect. And then the proximity of that on-ramp to the proximity of the fuel pump to the on-ramp of I-35. And then there's a significant change in grade. The applicant has also provided the retaining wall plan as part of the revised plan. I crossed this out because the on-site and off-site maneuverability has been approved by Public Works, so that's not a reason for denial anymore. And again, I don't know if Mr. Rowe got my staff report, but I updated the staff report that you have in your packet, and all the text in blue is an update to everything that has been resubmitted based on the recommendation by City Plan Commission, which then affected staff's review of the special use permit analysis. So I don't know if you will go through it, but I did go through this, and in your report, all this that's in dark blue has been updated. So, and I did say A, complies with all applicable standard of zoning and development code. I said the plan has been updated to meet all requirements except for additional landscaping recommended by City Plan Commission. And in your report, there's an outstanding correction that City Plan Commission added when they reviewed the case, that there should be additional planting along the northeast area where the canopy is. So I will see how we can do that. B says that the plan have been updated to include this information. And I went through and updated all this information in the report. This review went to City Plan Commission, and city staff recommended denial the Plan Commission, but the City Plan Commission is bringing this forward to you without a recommendation. And the reason was the vote was tied, so they came to an impasse, and then this is coming to you without a recommendation, but they did recommend that the applicant make the necessary correction prior to the BZA hearing. And as you see in my staff report and my analysis, those corrections have been made. The only outstanding correction is the additional landscaping. So with that, this is coming to you with staff's recommendation subject to those. Should the BZA approve this, staff recommends that the 21 conditions be approved. That ends my presentation, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Olufu. Any questions for Olufu? All right, Mr. Rowe, let's hear from you, and hopefully you can address any issues you have with the staff report and the 21 conditions. If you understand our issue there, if there's any objection to those from your
client. Yeah, I can address the conditions and maybe kind of jump ahead.
Go ahead.
Respectfully requesting the board's approval of this special use permit request, and should the board do that, I've covered these conditions contained in the staff report with our client, and they are acceptable to our client. And so I wanted to state that right up front. With regard to the Exhibit 9 PowerPoint presentation, I guess I do have an objection now that I've seen it. There was a slide in there that listed reasons why the staff recommended denial, and that seems to me a little bit different than what's in the staff report. Staff report says they're recommending denial based on the application, plans, and documents provided for review prior to the hearing, but now we're hearing things about city policies and change in elevations and things like that. So to the extent that the PowerPoint presentation is something new and different, not shown to us, I would object to that and object to the hearsay contained therein. And with regard to the staff report, we did get the staff report yesterday. It wasn't online Friday. It looks like it got uploaded to Compass on Saturday, and so we were able to see it yesterday. And I do recognize that staff has updated, within the conditions, but the reason I would still object to it are the statements that still are in there that to a reader might cause the reader to come to a different conclusion. And so if I may, Madam Chair, I can touch on those just very quickly. Page 3 of the staff report, under plan review, third paragraph, contains a statement that staff recommends that the architecture of the north elevation be revised to provide storefront windows for visibility of the gas pumps. That's been done, and staff has in their presentation noted that, but here we have a document that's going to be admitted into the record that's got an incorrect statement in it. Bottom of page 3, under landscape and screening standards, staff recommends that the landscape plan be revised to provide the plantings required by the code, and the plan be sealed by a landscape architect registered in the state of Missouri. The applicant's request does not conform to the applicable requirements of this section. City Plan Commission also recommended additional planting along the northeast corner to shield the canopy from the residents to the east. Couple things there. Exhibit 8, which you've admitted, has a sheet numbered L-1, which is a landscape plan prepared by Mr. Meyer, who's with us today, and it is sealed by Mr. Meyer. So this is an incorrect statement here that there isn't a plan or the plan's not sealed by an architect. It is, and he will testify today that it does meet the city's requirements for landscaping and screening. And he'll also testify that he did add landscaping along that east line as recommended by the Planning Commission. And the last thing I would mention is there's a reference to the residence to the east. There isn't a residence to the east just yet. There's an apartment building planned, and the landscaping that was added along the east line extends as far north on that east line of our plan. Mr. Meyer will address this, that it goes as far north as what would be the north face of the apartment building proposed to the east. I'm still on the staff report. If I go to page 4, very first paragraph at the top is titled Outdoor Lighting Standards. Second sentence says a lighting plan has not been submitted. That's incorrect. A lighting plan was submitted. If you look at Exhibit 8, page SP-1 is the lighting plan, and it was submitted previously, I believe in February. And so that paragraph ends with the applicant's request does not conform to the applicable requirements of this section. That's also an incorrect statement. It does comply with the requirements of the city's lighting standards, and Mr. Murdock will address that. Next paragraph is titled Sign Standards. Second sentence of that paragraph says the submitted plan does not include a signage plan as required by the Zoning and Development Code. The plan does not include a monument sign with a gas price board. That sentence is incorrect. That plan was turned in. If you look at Exhibit 8 and go to page AS-1, that is the plan that shows the signage plan, and that's been part of the packet for a while as well. And then pedestrian standards, next paragraph there on page 4. Second sentence says the plan does not show any connection from the store to the public streets. And that also, I have to point out, probably an oversight, but it's incorrect. Sheet S-1 of the plans that were turned in does show a connection from the store to 43rd Street. Then when you get down under the special use permit analysis on A of that criteria, and I'll come back to address that, where it says the plans have been revised to meet all the requirements except for the additional landscaping recommended by the City Plan Commission. That's not totally correct, because we did add additional landscaping recommended by the City Plan Commission. And Madam Chair, I'll tell you, we've been trying to find out what the folks at the city staff want, and just tell us, we'll do it. If it's the pleasure of the board to put some more landscaping along that east line, my client's here to tell you, we'll do that. But we thought we complied with that request, so it's not correct to say except for additional landscaping recommended by the City Plan Commission, because that was done. And until yesterday, when we saw the staff report, nobody had told us that this was an issue. Mr. Meyer will testify that his landscaping plan was done in February. That plan was turned in on February 22nd. And from February 22nd until yesterday, nobody ever told us that there was an issue about the landscape plan relative to additional landscaping recommended by the City Plan Commission. Saw that for the first time yesterday, and that plan's been there, filed with the city on Compass since February 22nd. Last thing is over on page 5, under City Plan Commission recommendation. There's a reference that we went to the Planning Commission on February 2nd. That actually was January 5th. 2021 was our Planning Commission date. I'm not picking nits. It's just, I think it goes to show you we've been working very hard and for quite a long time to meet all of these things that are now stricken out on page 5 there under conditions. But as I've mentioned, with regard to the rest of those conditions, those are all acceptable to the applicant. So that would be it for the objections, and at Madam Chair's pleasure, I'm ready to proceed with the applicant's presentation. We do have a brief presentation.
Okay, and your points of correction or objection have been noted, and I think we'll admit this with your testimony, and the board members can take that into account in their determination today. So the exhibits will remain admitted with Mr. Rowe's comments, okay?
Okay.
All right, so Mr. Rowe, go ahead with your presentation.
Madam Chair, as noted, the property is at the southeast corner of I-35 and Antioch Road. It's right next to the on-ramp to I-35 northbound. The property, as I mentioned, is owned by Mickey Holdings. The applicant is Groceries for Less. Currently, the site has a very successful convenience store on it. And by way of background, this location used to be the site of a Sinclair gas station. And it's my understanding that when they moved out, they removed the fuel pumps and the tanks. Building sat vacant for a little while, but when my client came along, he originally leased the site, but in 2015, he purchased the property. That was October 28th of 2015 is when Mickey Holdings LLC purchased the property. And now he seeks to expand the convenience store and, if you will, reintroduce gasoline and fuel sales there by showing on his plan a total of 4 pump islands, which would be 4 islands, which would be 8 pumps and a canopy. I do want to point out that there's been a lot of discussion and you know, the convenience store and expanding the convenience store. The reason we're in front of the board just has to do with the gasoline and fuel sales. Gasoline and fuel sales is a use that is permitted via a special use permit in the B2 zoning district, and this property is zoned B2. It, as I mentioned, did at one time have fuel pumps. It was a Sinclair gas station. Interesting to talk a little bit about the surrounding area, because I think it goes to the criteria that I'm going to address. Directly to the south of the property is an existing 7-Eleven convenience store with a canopy and pump islands. To the north, I mentioned, was I-35. To the west is a automotive type use. They do a lot of car inspections and some repair. To the southeast is a motel. To the northwest is a strip retail center. So this is a commercial corridor, and it serves the motoring public here. And, you know, the big use, or the thing that we can't ignore, is I-35 is right there with how many cars a day going up and down I-35 right there. In terms of zoning, I mentioned that the subject property is zoned B2. The property directly south of us is zoned B4. B4 is a heavy business commercial zone. Its primary purpose is to accommodate heavier commercial activities and a limited range of industrial uses. Across the street to the west is B1, that's neighborhood business. Subject property is B2. The property to the east is zoned UR, District UR, which is an urban redevelopment district. I think what I'd like to do at this time is have Mr. Murdick talk about the plan and testify about that. So if you could, Mr. Murdick, introduce yourself and confirm for the record that you have been sworn.
Yeah, thank you, John. Again, my name is Mark Murdick. I have been sworn in. I'm with Sullivan Palmer Architects. My personal address is 8116 Mercer Street, Kansas City, Missouri. And again, this parcel 4305 North Antioch Roads, Casey, Missouri, is property in question today. Our proposed special use permit primarily consists of reintroducing the fuel pumps, as John stated, with underground fuel tanks to service said pumps on the site, on the west side of the site along Antioch. The proposal will consist of 4 new pump islands for a total of 8 pump stations. New canopy structure, approximately 55 by 54 feet in area footprint. Our proposal will also include several site improvements, as stated earlier, new landscaping and such, with the property boundaries including 25 new parking spaces, whereas it's 19 is required. So we are extending our parking requirements. New pavement resurfacing, new pedestrian striping with connectivity. And again, the landscaping is compliant with KCMO standards. We're going to have a new retaining wall along the east side with landscaping on top of that retaining wall to buffer the development to the east. The new monument sign at the southwest corner within standards. New site lighting consisting of code compliant foot candles with full cutoff fixtures with no residual spillover. And again, alongside the special use permit of reintroducing the fuel sales will be part of the C-store expansion and update. You saw in the slide, the PowerPoint presentation earlier, a clip of our elevations, all complying to KCMO standards and regulations. The expansion will be approximately 5,000 square feet, consisting of updated facade on all sides, new expanded storefront on the west and the north, as explained earlier, facing the fuel pumps to allow for staff, the staff to oversee everything going on at the north at the fuel pumps, and new building lighting as well, and new awnings. So at this time, I'd like to hand it back over to Mr. Rowe.
Okay. And Madam Chair, if I could jump ahead, I have Mr. Meyer here, and I understand that he has another appointment he needs to be at. So kind of like what happens in court sometimes where you got to take a witness out of order. If you'll allow me, I'd kind of like to jump ahead to the first criteria about for special use permit complies with all applicable standards of this zoning and development code. And before I kind of launch into what I wanted to say, just ask if I could have and testify now so that he can, make his next appointment as I guess he needs to.
That's fine, Mr. Rowe, go ahead.
Jason Meyer, spelled M-E-I-E-R. My address is 15245 Metcalf Avenue, Overland Park, Kansas. And yeah, I created the landscape plan. I'm a licensed landscape architect. I've worked on hundreds of projects in Kansas City, Missouri. And so the plan does conform to the city's requirements. I think maybe the only concern that maybe staff has, and I'd love to just verify, our property line does some jogging back and forth. And I think I have packed in as much landscaping as I can on our property. And I know we can't put any trees out in the right of way. And so I don't know if that was a concern. But anyways, I just wanted to just state for the record that I did everything I could to get this plan to meet city code and meet the city's requirements. So, but I'd love to, have a conversation with staff. And if there's anything more we needed to do, we'll do it. We'll do it. So.
Mr. Rowe, not to interrupt your flow, I'd like to hear from Mr. Olfo before Mr. Meyer leaves, if there is still a concern about landscaping based on your raising the issue of the plan that Mr. Meyer has promoted. It might be more efficient.
That's fine, Madam Chair.
Okay, Olafu, based on the presentation of the applicant, are you still concerned about the landscaping plan at this time, since we still have Mr. Meyer here to ask him questions if you are?
What I did, Madam Chair, I went back and reviewed the actual Zoom video, and the CPC meeting was on February 2nd. So I watched the Zoom video, which is available online for anyone to watch. So I watched the video, and the only addition they made, the City Plan Commission made to that video, to the condition of landscaping, was that you add additional landscaping along the northeast. And that's how I added that. That's the only addition. So if you go through my corrections, I struck out everything because they've met everything. And I added that language. And that language come from me going back to review the entirety of the City Plan Commission meeting. Because I wanted to bring I went through to listen to all the votes. So the vote was tied, and then they had another vote to then, before I wrote my staff report. And that's where that came from. So I'm sorry, Mr. Rowe got it as a surprise, but it was from me reviewing the video of the City Plan Commission.
All right, so Mr. Rowe, I guess in terms of the plan that we have for Mr. Meyer, is there still a spot that's not landscaped?
And I'm going to pull up this plan while you're talking, Ms.
Yeah, that's great. If you could pull up the landscape plan, I think you'll see I have planted way more than what's required on the east side of the property. So I guess I think that's what my charge was to do, was to do more above and beyond what the city requires. So that is what we did between the uses on that east side. And I think the issue might be is our property line jogs on that northeast corner, and I can't plant trees on somebody else's property. So I've planted everything that we can on our property above and beyond the city requirements on that east side. And I don't know if that's where we're running into an issue or not, but I mean, as I look at it, we might be able to add another tree or two, but it's pretty packed on that east side.
All right, I just want clarification because I know Mr. Meyer has to go, Mr. Rose. So.
Yeah, and I apologize that I had another appointment already.
I understand it's been, and you guys are at the end of the meeting. I get it. So I just want to make sure I don't want to leave Mr. Rowe without an opportunity to respond.
I think if we pull it up, when we saw this yesterday, what I did, Madam Chair, is, and I know you have a rule during these COVID procedures that exhibits have to be turned in 5 days in advance, but we didn't know until yesterday that this was still a concern. So what I did is I took a copy of the October 2020 landscape plan and then a copy of the February 22nd, 2021 landscape plan and stapled them together and sent them in as, I just put exhibit 36 on them. If Olafu, if you've got that and pull that up, I think the board can see the difference, striking difference between what was originally proposed and what's now proposed.
Yeah, I'm looking at it and it's still not adequate. He has some shrubs and other things that we will probably want to change to evergreens. So Mr. Meyer, you and I can get offline and take care of that condition.
Well, and then what I'd suggest, Madam Chair, what I'm hearing is that shouldn't be a reason to deny. I would respectfully submit, if it's the board's pleasure to approve, that it be a condition of approval that Mr. Meyer get with Mr. Agbaji to work out the landscape matter on the east line there.
And I think that's what Mr. Olafu is agreeing to, if the board should approve this. So, okay, I think we can move forward. If
Also, Madam Chair, let's just to make this meeting go fast. There's no recommendation of denial. The Plan Commission forwarded this without a recommendation. So there's no recommendation of denial. My staff report does not say a recommendation. Staff recommended denial, but the CPC forwarded this to you without a recommendation. So I just want to make that clear.
I think, I think we understand that. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Baxter.
I just want to clarify slightly what Olafu just stated, because the vote was actually a tie vote at City Plan Commission. So there were votes in favor and the vote, it was a tie vote. So they just made this additional motion to move it forward because a tie vote doesn't achieve that. But I just think it's important to state for the record, there were commissioners that supported this.
I think the board understands that. So, okay. All right. All right, Mr. Rode, do you have other testimony for us? Because
yes, I think
at the end of the day.
Yes, it is, and I'll try. I get it. It's 4:30, and you've been going since 1, and I did want to touch on these conditions because it is a special use permit, and it's the applicant's burden to prove that we meet each one of those things. So if I could, I'd like to touch on each one of those. The first one is complies with all applicable standards of this zoning and development code. Short answer is yes, we do. There are no requested deviations, no requested waivers, no variance has been requested. And if you kind of go through the checklist of things, are there boulevard and parkway standards that are applicable? Answer, no, because we're not within 150 feet of a boulevard or parkway. Is there any parkland dedication required? Answer, no, because there are no residential uses proposed. Then you look at, the other criteria in the ordinance. Landscaping screening standards are met. We've just spent time on that and have a way to get that figured out. Outdoor lighting. A lighting plan was submitted. We've had testimony from Mr. Murdock that it complies with the city's requirements, which means that the fixtures are mounted under the gas station canopy and they're recessed into the canopy. They have flat lenses that are translucent. They're flush with the bottom of the canopy or the ceiling, however you look at it. And that we don't violate any of the spillover light requirements or restrictions that are in the ordinance. So we meet all those requirements. Then we also look at sign standards and pedestrian standards, and we meet those. So I'd respectfully submit to the board that the applicant meets the first criteria of do you comply with all applicable standards of this zoning and development code? Second criteria to evaluate is whether this is in the interest of the public convenience and will not have a significant adverse impact on the general welfare of the neighborhood or community. Well, the addition of fuel pumps and gasoline sales means more choices for the people in the area, and more choices means more competition. Choices and competition are good for the public convenience. Public convenience is also served by having a fueling facility right next to an interstate highway like this. Where else are you going to put them? This is where you typically find them. In fact, you've got the 7-Eleven next door to us, and there's a Minute Mart that has a Phillips 66 brand at the northwest corner of the highway. So this is the appropriate place for it. It is for the public convenience. I did have some other exhibits that I sent in. We had a site feasibility study done that shows there's a relatively strong commuter-based transient traffic on Antioch Road. There's a relatively significant middle-income residential density within a 5-minute drive. And that feasibility shows that there's also a good daytime population within a 5-minute drive. So the point to be made is there's more than a sufficient market share to support the proposed site. And this site will serve the day-to-day convenience needs of nearby residents and the needs of residents within a larger trade area, which is on point with the definition of what a B2 zone is supposed to do. Also, as part of the expansion of the convenience store, the applicant had to go get consents. This was an item that was required by regulated industries. And Regulated Industries determined that there were 21 potential consentors within the zone of consent. We had to get 11. We got 15 and stopped. We could have probably gotten more, but we got more than the required amount. And so that was an exhibit that I wanted to turn in. I had previously sent that in March. You know, there was a 2018 staff report for this application. And on this particular topic, the staff report, which recommended approval at that time, said it is not anticipated that the expansion will have an adverse impact on the neighborhood, as the fuel sales component of the use will be located to the north, closer to I-35. And we agree with that. The pictures that are in Exhibit 11 kind of show the surrounding area and the commercial nature of this corridor. I can go to criteria number 3, which is it compatible with the character of the surrounding area in terms of site planning and building scale and project design? And the short answer is yes. What we have planned for the site is compatible with the surrounding area. There are fuel sales directly adjacent on the south at the 7-Eleven, so we're compatible with that. We have a 1-story building. The retail strip center across the street is 1 story. The 7-Eleven is 1 story. The Minute Mart up the street is 1 story. The auto repair across the street is 1 story. Here's the point. We're compatible in terms of building scale. In terms of site planning, the other uses around us put the building at the kind of the back, or what you might consider the rear of their lot, and customer circulation is in the front. That's exactly what we've got. So we're compatible in terms of site planning and project design. And the bottom line, I've mentioned this, gas station, convenience store at the intersection of a street like Antioch Road and an interstate highway, that's completely compatible with the character of the surrounding area. Next criteria is whether it's compatible with the surrounding area in terms of operating characteristics, such as hours of operation, outdoor lighting, noise, and traffic generation. The hours of operation for our facility, Madam Chair, it will be 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. Monday through Sunday. Compare that to 7-Eleven, which is next door to us. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we're actually less than our competitor. Domino's is across the street. They're open to 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights. So we're a little bit less than the pizza place across the street. Again, here's the point. We're compatible in terms of operating characteristics. And again, if we were to look at the 2018 staff report that recommended approval, it said noise and traffic generation is not anticipated to significantly impact adjacent properties. And I'd also note that MoDOT has jurisdiction over Antioch Road. That's noted on page 1 of the staff report. And MoDOT said that they did not require a traffic impact study. And I had turned in an exhibit that I marked as Exhibit 27. That is the email from the MoDOT representative confirming that they did not need a TIS, traffic impact study. And then last criteria is will not have a significant adverse impact on pedestrian safety or comfort. We have provided a connection between the building and 43rd Street to the south. MoDOT didn't ask for a traffic study. There are existing sidewalks on Antioch and 43rd Street that are adjacent to the site that will remain. And again, if I go back to the 2018 staff report, it says the project is not anticipated to change the existing pedestrian safety or comfort. So with that, Madam Chair, we would respectfully request the approval by the board of this case. There are conditions of approval, and those conditions of approval are acceptable to the applicant. So again, respectfully request the board's vote to approve this project, subject to the conditions that are in the staff report.
Okay, just a point of clarification. I have admitted Exhibit 11, which I believe is it compiles exhibits you've asked to be admitted today.
Well, I couldn't tell. I thought Exhibit 11 just referred to photos. If those are all of the exhibits that I turned in on March 4th and 5th, then that's good.
It's a
That's
very
correct.
That's correct. Yeah, we just admitted everything in one exhibit, so it's
Then
all.
my mistake, Madam Chair. If all of those exhibits are referred to in there, included in 11, then I stand corrected. It just said the description referred to applicants' pictures, and I was
Yeah.
unclear if that was just the pictures I turned in, or did it include, for example, the feasibility study I mentioned?
It included all of that. What it includes is a total of 90 pages, and that is, yes.
Madam Chair, I appreciate you clarifying that for me, but judging by the description, I couldn't tell that for sure.
I appreciate that. That's why I wanted there to be clarification that when he referenced for the court reporter, other exhibits, all of the items he just talked about is in one exhibit, Exhibit 11, that I've admitted. So
thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Does the board have questions at this point? I'm hearing no questions. We've had a pretty thorough presentation by both staff and by Mr. Rowe. So if there are no questions, then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would offer a motion. I would move that the board grant the request in accordance with staff report site plan with an additional condition that a landscaping plan be developed to staff's satisfaction.
I have a motion from Mr. Stiller. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Granucci. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Gornick, are you opposed? Yes? Yes, okay. And chair votes with the motion. The request passes 4-1. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and we
Madam
have,
Chair.
yeah, I think we have one more case, but I don't see anybody else waiting to come in. So let's call it and see what we want to do with this. It's docket number 21, case number 8. The address is 6910 Warnell Road. I'd ask for the applicant to raise their hand, but I see no attendees waiting. So have we heard from Mr. Is it Yao? Or I'm not sure I'm saying his name correctly.
No, we did not. So we'll recommend to continue it to the next meeting, and we'll get in touch with him and make sure he shows up.
Okay, let me ask you this, Olufu. I understand your recommendation and that's fine, but this was continued from February 9th. So it's now April. So we've gone through 2 hearings and he's not.
2 hearings, yeah.
Right, so I'm questioning whether we shouldn't dismiss this case. That's just, I'm one board member, but.
If
Chairman
you
Otto.
see on the list, it was still assigned to Jamie. So I have a feeling he's still probably trying to contact Jamie, and Joey's gone for the day. So
Oh,
we'll
that,
give him.
okay. Well, in light of that scenario, that explains to me why we might have a conflict. And
Yeah,
so,
I'll take it over and then make sure we
oh, okay, all right, yeah. So we
Yeah.
have had a staff change that left some things up in the air. So I believe in light of what Olufu is telling us, that it would be prudent for the board, I'm one board member, but that we continue this one more time to see if the applicant gets here the next time. Okay, so do I have a motion to continue this to May 11th?
So moved.
So moved with no fee?
I have a motion from, I think Mr. Stiller said that first. Mr. Ebbets, can I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes with the motion. This matter is continued to May 11th, and we are finished. Thank you very much, all. And Michelle, you had a busy afternoon. We are adjourned. Everybody be safe out there. We'll see you in a month, okay?
Hey, Teresa.
Teresa.
Yes, Michelle.
Okay, so it's my understanding since everything passed, you don't need anything transcribed. Is that correct?
Sarah, is that correct, or do we want it?
That's correct. We usually will make a request if there's been an appeal. That's how we.
And we won't know that for a bit, so.
Yes, gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,